The text message wasn't supposed to reach her. The billionaire CEO's broken confession, "I miss you so much it hurts," was meant for a ghost, a disconnected number that would never answer back. But Emily Carter's phone lit up at 2 a.m. with words that shattered the illusion of Adrian Vale's perfect life. She could have ignored it, should have ignored it. Instead, she typed back. That single reply set off a chain of events that would expose corporate scandals, threaten a little girl's safety, and force two damaged souls to choose between protecting their hearts and risking everything for a love neither believed they deserved. Stay until the end and drop a comment with your city. I want to see how far this story reaches across the world. Hit that like button and let's begin. The amber liquid in Adrian Vale's crystal tumbler caught the city lights filtering through floor-to-ceiling windows 40 stories above Manhattan. He'd stopped counting how many fingers of scotch he'd poured tonight. 3? 5? Did it matter anymore? His daughter's bedroom door stood slightly ajar down the hallway, a sliver of nightlight glow cutting across the marble floor. Chloe had finally cried herself to sleep an hour ago, clutching the worn stuffed rabbit that still smelled faintly of the lavender perfume her mother used to wear. Used to, past tense. Everything about Rebecca was past tense now. 2 years, 3 months, and 16 days. Adrian's thumb hovered over his phone screen, the blue light harsh against his face in the darkened penthouse. He'd kept Rebecca's number in his contacts, couldn't bring himself to delete it even though the line had been disconnected 18 months ago. Sometimes late at night, when the silence pressed too hard against his chest, he'd type messages he'd never send. Confessions that vanished into digital void. It was pathetic, he knew. A 32-year-old man worth $4.7 billion, and he couldn't let go of a phone number. Tonight felt worse than usual. Chloe had asked again at dinner why Mommy wasn't coming back. 7 years old, and she still didn't fully grasp forever. How could she? Adrian barely grasped it himself. His fingers moved across the screen, muscle memory and scotch loosening the tight control he usually maintained. I miss you so much it hurts. Everything's falling apart without you. I don't know how to do this alone. I'm failing her, Becca. I'm failing our daughter every single day. He hit send before the rational part of his brain could stop him. The message showed delivered, which was wrong. It always showed undeliverable. Always. Adrian stared at the screen as the scotch fog lifted slightly from his thoughts. Delivered. Not undeliverable. Oh no, 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 no. His hands went cold. He'd selected the wrong contact. The number just above Rebecca's in his recent messages. The one his assistant had forwarded yesterday when some charity fundraiser tried contacting him directly. He never responded to those, just let them filter into the void with everything else. Except now some complete stranger had just received the most vulnerable moment of his entire adult life. Adrian Vale, the man Forbes called Manhattan's most ruthless CEO, had just accidentally confessed his broken heart to a random phone number. 30 blocks south, Emily Carter's phone vibrated against the chipped Formica counter where she'd collapsed 15 minutes earlier, still wearing her grease-stained cafe apron. Her feet screamed in protest, double shift, 12 hours slinging coffee and wiping tables, smiling through the ache because tips paid better when you pretended everything was fine. She almost ignored the message, unknown number, probably spam, but something made her look. The words on the screen stopped her completely. Emily read it twice, then 3 times. This wasn't spam. This was raw pain, stripped bare and desperate. This was someone's private agony delivered to the wrong person. She should delete it, mind her own business, go to bed, and forget the whole thing. Instead, her fingers moved across the cracked screen protector. I think you sent this to the wrong number. But whoever you meant it for, I hope they know how much you care, and I hope things get better for you and your daughter. She hesitated, then added, sometimes the hardest part isn't being strong. It's admitting you need help. You're not failing, you're surviving. That counts for something. Emily hit send before she could overthink it, then immediately regretted the impulse. What was she doing? This person didn't want life advice from a broke waitress who couldn't even afford to fix her phone screen properly. She hauled herself off the counter, every muscle protesting, and headed for the shower. The water never got properly hot in her apartment, but at least it washed away the smell of burnt coffee and broken dreams. Munting. Adrian stared at the response like it might detonate. Someone had answered. A stranger had read his darkest moment and responded with kindness. He checked the number again. Definitely not Rebecca's. Definitely not anyone in his contacts. Just a random person who'd somehow ended up on the receiving end of his emotional breakdown. The rational move would be to apologize for the mistake and block the number. Pretend it never happened. But something in those words, "You're not failing, you're surviving," that counts for something, hit differently than the empty condolences he'd endured for 2 years. His corporate board members had patted his shoulder and talked about time healing all wounds. His late wife's family had offered prayers and platitudes. His assistant had quietly arranged therapy appointments he never attended. Everyone meant well, but their sympathy felt hollow, scripted, obligatory. This stranger's message felt real. Adrian's fingers hovered over the keyboard. He should stop. This was insane. But the scotch and the loneliness and Chloe's tear-stained face combined into something that overrode common sense. "How did you know I have a daughter?" The response came faster than expected. "You mentioned failing her. Are you okay?" That sounded pretty dark. Adrian laughed, the sound bitter in the empty penthouse. "Define okay. I'm breathing. That's about the extent of it. That's a start. Breathing's underrated. Who is this?" "Someone who accidentally became your unintended therapist, apparently." "I'm Emily." "Adrian." He stopped himself from adding his last name. For once in his adult life, maybe anonymity wasn't the worst thing. "What happened, Adrian? If you want to talk about it." And there it was, the invitation to unload on a complete stranger. Ridiculous. Inappropriate. Potentially dangerous depending on who this Emily person actually was. Adrian typed anyway. "My wife died 2 years ago. Cancer. I thought I was handling it. Clearly I'm not. I'm sorry, I can't imagine. My daughter asked tonight why her mother isn't coming back. She's 7. How do you explain permanent to someone who still believes in magic? Maybe you don't explain it. Maybe you just hold her and let her feel what she feels." Adrian set the scotch down, suddenly needing clearer thoughts. That's what her therapist says. "I'm not great at the feelings thing. Nobody is. We just pretend better some days than others." Something about this conversation felt surreal. He'd spent 2 years maintaining perfect control, never letting anyone see past the polished CEO exterior. Now he was spilling his trauma to someone named Emily, who probably thought he was completely unhinged. "Why are you being nice to someone who accidentally texted you at 2 a.m.? "Because you needed someone to be nice to you. And because I've been where you are. Different circumstances, but the same kind of alone." "What happened to you?" "That's a long story for another time. Tonight's about you surviving another day." "Did you?" "Barely. Then you're doing better than you think." Adrian found himself almost smiling, an unfamiliar sensation these days. "I should let you sleep. I'm sorry for dumping this on you." "Don't be. Sometimes strangers are easier to talk to than people who know us. No judgment, no expectations." "Thank you, Emily." "Anytime, Adrian. Seriously. If you need to talk, I'm here." He saved the number before he could talk himself out of it. Then he sat in the dark penthouse, staring at the conversation, wondering what the hell he'd just started. Gush. Tack. Emily woke at 6 a.m. to her alarm blaring the same grinding ringtone she'd used for 3 years. Shower, coffee, 20-minute subway ride to the cafe, repeat. The rhythm of survival. She kept thinking about the messages from last night. Adrian, a widower struggling with a daughter who missed her mother. The raw honesty in his words had caught her completely off guard. During her morning shift, pouring coffee on autopilot while her mind wandered, she wondered if she'd crossed some line. Maybe her responses had been too personal, too presumptuous. He'd probably regret the whole conversation in daylight. Her phone buzzed during her break. Is it weird that I slept better last night than I have in months? Emily's heart did something unexpected. She told herself it was just surprise, not hope, not weird. Sometimes saying the hard stuff out loud helps. Chloe asked about you this morning? About me? How does she even know I exist? I told her I talked to someone kind last night. She wanted to know if you like dinosaurs. Emily laughed out loud, earning a curious look from her coworker. Tell her I think velociraptors are underrated. She says you're officially her favorite person now. I haven't even met her. Details. Emily felt herself smiling at her phone like a teenager, which was ridiculous. This was just two people having a conversation. Nothing more. What is she like? Besides dinosaurs, apparently. Space. Planets. Anything that glows in the dark. She's got a school project due Monday about the solar system, and I have no idea how to help her. I could help with that. Emily typed it before thinking, then immediately wanted to delete it. What was she doing? Offering to help a stranger's kid with homework? Are you serious? I used to volunteer at an after-school program before my schedule got insane. Kids and crafts are kind of my thing. The three dots appeared and disappeared several times. Emily held her breath. This is probably a terrible idea. Probably. I don't even know your last name. Carter. Emily. Carter. See? Now you can Google me and confirm I'm not a serial killer. I'm sure serial killers don't announce themselves as Emily Carter. Exactly. We're very sneaky that way. Another long pause. Would you actually be willing to meet up? Help Chloe with this project? I can pay you. Don't. I'm not doing this for money. Then why? Emily stared at the question, trying to find an answer that didn't sound completely insane. Because someone was kind to me once when I needed it. Paying it forward. Tomorrow afternoon? I'll text you the address. Sounds good. Emily set her phone down, her hands slightly shaking. What had she just agreed to? Meeting some stranger and his kid to help with a school project because of a misdirected text message? Her coworker Maria leaned over. You okay? You look weird. I think I just made either the best or worst decision of my life. Those usually feel the same at first. But see, Adrian stared at the address he'd just sent, his finger hovering over the delete button. He'd given her his home address. The penthouse location he kept meticulously private. Security would have a field day with this. But something about Emily's messages felt genuine in a way nothing had felt genuine in years. She wasn't impressed by who he was, mainly because she clearly had no idea who he was. The thought was oddly liberating. Daddy? Chloe appeared in his office doorway, dragging her stuffed rabbit by one ear. Her dark hair stuck up in about 7 different directions. Hey, sweetheart. Breakfast? Is the dinosaur lady really coming tomorrow? Adrian's heart squeezed. The hope in her voice was almost painful. If you want her to. Yes. Chloe bounced on her toes. Can we make cookies? Mommy always made cookies when people visited. The mention of Rebecca sent the familiar ache through his chest, but softer than usual. We can try. Fair warning, my cookies usually turn into hockey pucks. That's okay. Emily probably won't care. Emily. First name basis already. His daughter had latched onto this stranger faster than Adrian had seen her warm to anyone since Rebecca died. Chloe? You know Emily's just helping with your project, right? She's not going to replace Mom. His daughter gave him the look, the one that said she understood things adults thought she couldn't grasp. Nobody replaces people, Daddy. That's not how it works. 7 years old and already wiser than he'd ever be. Ulk. Saturday afternoon arrived with the kind of autumn sunshine that made Manhattan almost bearable. Emily stood outside the address Adrian had sent, triple-checking she had the right place. The building was intimidating. Doorman, marble lobby, the kind of place where monthly maintenance probably cost more than her yearly rent. She'd worn her nicest jeans and a clean sweater, suddenly aware of how out of place she looked. The doorman gave her a skeptical once-over. Can I help you? I'm here to see Adrian. Apartment 4201? His expression shifted to something between surprise and concern. Mr. Vale is expecting you? Mr. Vale? The name tickled something in her memory, but she couldn't place it. Yes. Emily Carter. He made a call, spoke in low tones, then nodded. Elevator to the end, penthouse floor. Of course it was the penthouse. Emily's stomach dropped as the elevator climbed, numbers ticking higher than she'd ever been in a building before. What had she gotten herself into? The doors opened directly into a private foyer. Adrian stood waiting, and Emily's breath caught. He was younger than she'd imagined, maybe early 30s, with dark hair that looked like he'd been running his hands through it. Expensive shirt, designer jeans that probably cost more than her security deposit. But it was his eyes that stopped her, exhausted, guarded, and desperately trying to hide both. Emily? Hi, sorry if I'm early. You're perfect. I mean, your timing is perfect. Not that you're not. He stopped himself, looking flustered. I'm not usually this articulate. Emily smiled despite her nerves. I'm not usually this terrified of elevators. Heights bother you? No, just the realization that I'm standing in a penthouse that probably costs more than I'll make in my lifetime. Adrian's expression softened. It's just a building. Expensive doesn't mean better. Before Emily could respond, a small tornado in the form of a 7-year-old girl came barreling around the corner. Emily, you're real! Chloe grabbed her hand like they were old friends, dragging her inside before Adrian could intervene. The apartment was stunning, all glass and steel and carefully curated art, but it felt cold, empty despite the expensive furniture. I got all the supplies Daddy said. We have foam balls and paint and glitter and everything. Chloe bounced with excitement. Do you really like velociraptors? Emily laughed, feeling the tension ease. They're my favorite dinosaur. Mine too. Everyone always picks T-Rex, but velociraptors are way smarter. Chloe, maybe let Emily breathe for a second, Adrian suggested. But he was smiling, actually smiling. Emily caught his eye over Chloe's head. It's okay. I came prepared for enthusiasm. She pulled a small bag from her purse and handed it to Chloe, who opened it with reverent care. Inside was a tiny velociraptor figurine. For your desk, every scientist needs a good luck charm. Chloe's face lit up like Christmas morning. This is the best thing ever. She hugged Emily with the fierce, unselfconscious affection only kids can manage. And Emily felt something crack open in her chest. She'd forgotten what it felt like to matter to someone, even someone she'd just met. Adrian's expression had gone soft, vulnerable in a way that made her breath catch. Thank you, he mouthed over Chloe's head. Emily just smiled and let herself be dragged toward the dining room table, already covered in project supplies. Welcome. 3 hours later, the table looked like a craft store had exploded. Paint everywhere, glitter embedded in surfaces it would never leave, foam planets in various states of completion. Chloe was explaining the atmospheric composition of Jupiter with the confidence of a tiny astrophysicist, while Emily helped her paint the Great Red Spot. Adrian had given up trying to help after accidentally gluing Saturn's rings on backwards. Now he just watched from the kitchen island, coffee in hand, struck by how natural Emily looked in his home. How she listened to Chloe's rambling explanations with genuine interest, asked questions that made his daughter think, laughed at jokes that weren't even funny. His phone buzzed. His assistant, reminding him about Monday's board meeting, the merger proposal he needed to review, the 100 other responsibilities waiting in his office down the hall. He silenced it. Daddy, come see, Chloe waved him over. Emily showed me how to make the sun look like it's actually burning. The sun did look impressive. Yellow and orange paint swirled together, glitter catching the light. His daughter's hands were covered in paint, her face smudged with silver sparkles, and she looked happier than he'd seen her in months. It's perfect, sweetheart. We should hang it in my room when it's dry. And Emily says next time she can show me how to make a comet. Next time. His daughter had already assumed there would be a next time. Adrian glanced at Emily, who was carefully painting tiny craters on the moon, her tongue poking out slightly in concentration. She'd rolled her sleeves up, revealing arms marked with small scars, burns maybe, from restaurant work. Her jeans had a patch on one knee. There was nothing polished or pretentious about her. She looked up and caught him staring. What? Nothing, just thank you for this. Are you kidding? This is the most fun I've had in months. She gestured at the disaster zone. Although I apologize for your table, the glitter will outlive us all. Worth it. Their eyes held for a moment too long. Emily looked away first, focusing back on the moon like it required intense concentration. Chloe yawned hugely, paint-covered hands rubbing her eyes. All right, Space Cadet, time to clean up, Adrian said gently, but we're not done. The planets need to dry anyway. Emily will come back. He paused, looking at Emily with a question in his eyes. If she wants to. Emily's smile was soft. I'd like that. Yay! Chloe pumped her fist, sending paint droplets across the table. Teat. An hour later, after Chloe had been shepherded through cleanup and dinner and bedtime, with Emily invited to stay for all of it, Adrian walked Emily to the elevator. I'm sorry she monopolized you all evening, he said. She doesn't usually warm up to people this fast. I think she just needed someone who wasn't afraid to make a mess with her. Emily pressed the elevator button. Kids know when adults are being real versus performing. You're good with her. Natural. I used to want kids. Before life got complicated. Emily's expression flickered with something sad. Your daughter is amazing, by the way. Smart and funny and kind. You're doing better than you think. The elevator arrived. Emily stepped inside, but Adrian held the door. Can I ask you something? Sure. Why did you really come today? You don't know us. This could have been dangerous or weird, or it was a little weird, Emily admitted with a small smile. But that text you sent, I recognize that kind of lonely. The kind where you're surrounded by everything except what matters. She paused. I grew up in foster care. 12 different homes before I aged out. I know what it's like to feel alone in a crowd. Adrian felt his chest tighten. I'm sorry. Don't be. It taught me that sometimes the smallest kindnesses matter most. Someone being present, showing up, caring when they don't have to. She shrugged. You needed someone to show up, so I did. The elevator started beeping, protesting being held. Adrian reluctantly let the door close, watching Emily's small wave as she descended. He stood in the empty foyer for a long moment, then pulled out his phone. Thank you for today. Chloe's already asking when you're coming back. The response came quickly. Tell her whenever she wants. I'm serious about that offer to help any time. Even if it's not about homework? Even then. Adrian found himself smiling at the screen, something warm and unfamiliar blooming in his chest. Tomorrow? Dinner? If you're free. He held his breath waiting for the response. I work until 6. But after that, yeah, I'd like that. I'll send a car. The subway works fine. Emily. Fine, but I'm not getting used to it. Noted. Adrian walked back into his apartment, past the disaster of dried paint and scattered glitter, and found himself actually looking forward to tomorrow. When was the last time that happened? Emily rode the subway home in a daze, her mind replaying the entire afternoon. Chloe's laughter, Adrian's careful distance that gradually softened, the way he'd looked at her when she made his daughter smile. This was dangerous. Getting attached to people she barely knew, inserting herself into their lives like she belonged there. She'd learned the hard way that belonging was temporary, that people left or sent you away or stopped needing you. But something about Adrian's broken honesty in that first text message had reached past all her carefully constructed walls. And Chloe, God, that little girl had wrapped herself around Emily's heart in approximately 30 seconds. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. Her stomach dropped until she opened it. This is Adrian. Different number. Work phone. I wanted to say thank you properly. What you did today meant more than you know. You already thanked me. Not enough. Chloe went to bed without crying for the first time in weeks. You gave us both something we desperately needed. What's that? Hope. Emily stared at that single word, feeling it resonate in her own hollow spaces. That goes both ways, she typed back. See you tomorrow. She put her phone away and stared out the subway window at the dark tunnel walls rushing past, wondering what she was walking into and whether she was brave enough to see it through. Somewhere 40 stories above Manhattan, Adrian stood at his penthouse window, watching the city lights, holding the same questions. Neither of them had answers yet, but for the first time in a long time, they both had something that felt a lot like possibility. The car Adrian sent wasn't just a car. It was a statement. Black Mercedes with tinted windows, the kind that screamed money in a way that made Emily's coworkers stare through the cafe window as she climbed inside. Maria had grabbed her arm before she left, eyes wide. Girl, who the hell is this guy? Just someone I'm helping with his kid. Nobody sends a Mercedes for just someone. You Google him yet? Emily hadn't. Part of her didn't want to know. The moment she put a net worth to Adrian's name, everything would shift. Right now, he was just a sad widower trying to figure out fatherhood. She wanted to keep it that way a little longer. The driver didn't speak, just navigated through evening traffic with professional efficiency. Emily watched the buildings get progressively fancier as they headed uptown, her stomach knotting tighter with each block. She'd changed clothes 3 times before settling on a simple black dress that wasn't too formal, but wasn't casual either. The fabric was thin in places from too many wash cycles, but it was the best she had. Her phone buzzed. Chloe's been watching out the window for 20 minutes. Fair warning, she made you a welcome sign. Emily smiled despite her nerves. Is it covered in glitter? Is there any other kind? The car pulled up to the building. Same intimidating doorman, same marble lobby that made her feel like she was trespassing. But this time when she stepped off the elevator, Chloe was waiting right there, practically vibrating with excitement. Emily! She held up a poster board covered in silver glitter, star stickers, and shaky marker letters that spelled out, "Welcome Emily," in rainbow colors. I made this for you. This is the most beautiful sign I've ever seen. Emily crouched down to Chloe's level. Can I keep it? Really? Absolutely. It's going on my fridge. Chloe's grin could have powered the city. She grabbed Emily's hand, tugging her inside. Adrian appeared from the kitchen, looking unfairly good in a dark sweater and jeans. His hair was still damp like he'd just showered, and Emily had to actively stop herself from staring. Sorry about the ambush, he said, but he was smiling, actually smiling, and it transformed his entire face. I like ambushes that come with glitter signs. Emily let Chloe pull her toward the dining room, where the table had been set with actual china and real cloth napkins. Adrian, this is too much. It's just dinner. This looks like a magazine spread. I may have panicked and called my assistant for help. He looked embarrassed. I haven't hosted anyone in a while. Chloe climbed into her chair, swinging her legs. Daddy burnt the first chicken. It smoked really bad and the alarm went off. Chloe, and then he said a bad word and made me promise not to tell. Adrian's ears turned red. We ordered from a restaurant after that. But I tried. Emily laughed, the sound surprising her. When was the last time she genuinely laughed? Points for effort. Dinner was easier than it should have been. Chloe chattered nonstop about her solar system project, which apparently earned her an A+ and got displayed in the school hallway. She described every single compliment her teacher gave in excruciating detail, while Adrian and Emily traded amused looks across the table. And then Jake said my son was way better than his, but I told him we could be solar system partners for the next project if he wanted, Chloe continued through a mouthful of pasta. Is that okay, Daddy? Chew first, then talk. And yes, that's very nice of you. Emily, do you have a boyfriend? Adrian choked on his water. Chloe! What? I'm just asking. She turned innocent eyes to Emily. Do you? Emily felt heat creep up her neck. No, I don't. Why not? You're really pretty. Chloe, that's enough, Adrian said firmly, but his own face had gone pink. I'm too busy with work, Emily answered, keeping her voice light. Relationships take time I don't really have. Oh. Chloe considered this seriously. Daddy doesn't have a girlfriend either. He says he's too busy too. The silence that followed was spectacularly awkward. Adrian looked like he wanted the floor to swallow him. Emily focused very hard on her pasta. Who wants dessert? Adrian said desperately. We have chocolate cake. Me! Chloe bounced in her seat, crisis averted by sugar. While Adrian cleared plates, Chloe pulled Emily to the living room to show her the art wall, a collection of expensive pieces that probably cost more than Emily's entire apartment building. But tucked among the professional artwork were Chloe's drawings, framed with the same care as everything else. Daddy puts all my pictures up, Chloe said proudly, pointing to a crayon drawing of what might have been a family. 2 stick figures and a smaller one in the middle. That's me and Daddy and Mommy, from before. Emily's throat tightened. It's beautiful. I don't remember her much anymore, just little things. She smelled like flowers and she sang me songs at bedtime. Chloe's voice went quiet. Is that bad? Did I forget? No, sweetheart, that's not bad at all. Emily knelt beside her. The love doesn't go away just because the memories get fuzzy. That stays forever. That's what Daddy says too. Chloe leaned against her, casual and trusting in a way that made Emily's chest ache. I'm glad you're here. The apartment's too quiet when it's just us. Adrian appeared with cake, stopping short when he saw them. The expression on his face was complicated, grief and gratitude and something else Emily couldn't quite name. They ate dessert on the couch, Chloe wedged between them, talking less now as exhaustion caught up. By the time Adrian suggested bed, she was yawning every other sentence. Will you come back? Chloe asked Emily, fighting sleep. Tomorrow? I have work tomorrow, remember? But soon. Promise? Emily looked at Adrian, who nodded almost imperceptibly. I promise. Chloe hugged her goodnight, fierce and quick, then let her father carry her toward the bedroom. Emily heard their voices, Adrian reading something, Chloe's sleepy responses, and felt like an intruder in this intimate moment. She should leave. Call the car. Go back to her real life. Instead, she walked to the windows, looking out over Manhattan, glittering in the darkness. From up here, the city looked magical instead of harsh, like anything was possible. "She's out," Adrian's voice came from behind her. "Asked me 4 times if you were still here." Emily turned. He'd rolled his sleeves up, exposing forearms that were distractingly nice. "She's a great kid. She likes you. A lot." He moved closer, hands in his pockets. "I like you too, obviously. I mean, as a person. A friend. Not that we're friends exactly. We barely know each other, but..." He stopped himself. "I'm going to stop talking now." Emily smiled. "For a billionaire CEO, you're really bad at this." The words were out before she could stop them. Adrian went very still. "You know who I am. Maria made me Google you during my break." Emily held his gaze. "Adrian Vale, Valecore Technologies, Forbes 30 under 30. Net worth that made my phone screen look too small to display the number. And you still came. Was I not supposed to? Most people change when they know, get weird, start wanting things." His jaw tensed. "I like that you didn't know. That you just saw me as some guy who screwed up a text message." "I still see that," Emily said quietly. "Money doesn't change grief. Doesn't make you less lonely or better at being a single parent. You're still just Adrian, trying to survive." He looked at her like she'd said something profound instead of obvious. "How are you real?" "I'm really not that special." "You have no idea, do you?" He moved closer, close enough that she could smell his cologne, something expensive and subtle. "You walked into my home, made my daughter smile for the first time in months, and asked for nothing in return. You know how rare that is?" Emily's heart was doing complicated things in her chest. "I should go." "Why?" "Because this..." She gestured between them. "Whatever this is, it's complicated. You're grieving. I'm broke. We live in completely different worlds. So? So I don't fit here, Adrian. Look at this place. Look at me." She hated how her voice cracked. "I'm a waitress who can barely make rent. You're a billionaire who probably spends more on coffee than I make in a month. And you think that matters to me? It should. Your daughter needs stability, not some stranger who'll disappear when reality sets in." "You're not a stranger anymore." His voice was rough. "And I don't want you to disappear." The air between them felt charged, dangerous. Emily forced herself to step back. "I need to think. This is all moving really fast." Adrian nodded slowly, disappointment flickering across his face. "Okay, I'll call the car." The ride home was quiet. Emily stared out the window, her mind spinning. What was she doing? Getting attached to a man she barely knew, falling for his daughter like she had any right to be part of their lives. This was a disaster waiting to happen. Her phone buzzed as she walked into her apartment. "I'm sorry if I pushed too hard. Take whatever time you need." But for what it's worth, Chloe wasn't the only one who had fun tonight. Emily sat on her bed, staring at the message. The smart thing would be to pull back, create distance before anyone got hurt. But when she closed her eyes, all she saw was Chloe's smile and Adrian's careful hope, and she knew it was already too late for smart. "Me too," she typed back. "Good night, Adrian." "Good night, Emily." She fell asleep holding her phone, the glitter welcome sign propped against her dresser, catching the streetlight through her window. 3 days passed before Emily saw them again. 3 days of double shifts and aching feet and messages from Adrian that came at odd hours. 2 a.m. thoughts about parenting, midday check-ins asking about her day, random photos of Chloe's latest art projects. Nothing demanding or inappropriate, just connection. Like he was thinking about her and wanted her to know. Emily found herself thinking about him too. The way his eyes crinkled when he smiled. How he listened when she talked, really listened, like her words mattered. The careful distance he maintained with Chloe, afraid to overwhelm his daughter with too much too fast. On Friday, her phone rang during her afternoon break. Adrian's name on the screen made her pulse jump. Hey, bad time." He sounded stressed, unusual for him. "I've got 15 minutes. What's wrong?" "I need a favor. It's last minute and completely unfair to ask, but I'm desperate." Emily sat up straighter. "What happened?" "Emergency board meeting in Boston tonight. I have to fly out in 2 hours, and my regular babysitter just canceled." He exhaled sharply. "I know it's asking a lot, but is there any chance you could stay with Chloe?" Just overnight. I'll be back tomorrow afternoon. You want me to watch her overnight? I trust you. She trusts you, and honestly, you're the only person she won't cry about me leaving." His voice dropped. "Please, Emily. I wouldn't ask if I had literally any other option." Emily thought about her schedule. She'd need to call in sick for tomorrow's morning shift, lose a day's pay she couldn't afford. It was irresponsible and impulsive and probably a terrible idea. "What time do you need me there?" The relief in his voice was palpable. "You're a lifesaver. 6 o'clock? I'll leave emergency numbers, credit cards, anything you need." "I don't need your credit cards, Adrian. Take them anyway, please. Order whatever you want, do whatever she wants. Just keep her safe and happy." "We'll be fine. Go handle your emergency." "Thank you. Seriously, I owe you." Emily ended the call and immediately texted Maria a creative lie about a family emergency. Her coworker would cover, probably. Hopefully. If not, Emily would deal with the consequences later. At 6 o'clock sharp, she was back in that elevator, overnight bag in hand, trying not to think about how insane this was. She was about to spend the night in a billionaire's penthouse, watching his daughter like it was totally normal. Chloe threw herself at Emily the moment the elevator doors opened. "You're staying! Daddy said you're staying!" "I am! We're going to have so much fun!" Adrian looked frazzled, suit jacket already on, laptop bag over his shoulder. He pulled Emily aside while Chloe ran to grab her tablet. "Emergency numbers are on the fridge. Her bedtime is 8:30, but good luck enforcing it. She'll try to negotiate for 9. Don't fall for it." He ran a hand through his hair. "She takes melatonin gummies at 8. Purple bottle in the bathroom cabinet. No nuts. She's allergic. If anything happens, Adrian." Emily put a hand on his arm. "We'll be fine. Go." He looked at her hand on his arm, then at her face. "I've never left her overnight with anyone who isn't family." "Then I'm honored you trust me." "It's more than trust." His voice went quiet. "You make her happy? You make both of us happy. That's not something I take lightly." Before Emily could respond, Chloe came running back. "Daddy, you're going to miss your plane." Adrian kissed his daughter's head, gave Emily one last grateful look, and left. The door clicked shut, and suddenly Emily was alone with a 7-year-old in an apartment worth more than she'd see in 10 lifetimes. "So," Chloe said brightly, "want to build a blanket fort?" They built the most elaborate blanket fort Emily had ever seen, using couch cushions and dining chairs and every spare blanket in the house. Chloe took it very seriously, directing placement with the authority of a tiny architect. "No, that corner needs more support. The structural integrity is compromised." Emily bit back a laugh. "Where did you learn that phrase?" "Daddy's work calls. I listen sometimes." She crawled into the fort, dragging her tablet with her. "Can we watch movies in here?" "Absolutely." They watched Finding Nemo because Chloe insisted Emily needed to see it, even though Emily had seen it dozens of times. They ate pizza that Emily ordered using Adrian's credit card after 15 minutes of internal debate. They painted each other's nails with polish Chloe found in her mother's old bathroom drawer. The bottles slightly dried out, but still usable. "Mommy had pretty nails," Chloe said quietly, concentrating on painting Emily's thumb bright purple. "She always let me pick the colors." "What was she like?" "Your mom?" Chloe's face scrunched up, thinking. "Nice." "She laughed a lot. She made really good pancakes with chocolate chips." She paused. "She got really sick and tired at the end. Daddy tried to hide it, but I knew." Emily's throat closed up. "That must have been scary." "Yeah, but Daddy said she's not hurting anymore. That helps, I guess." She finished the nail and sat back. "Do you think she'd like you?" The question caught Emily off guard. "I don't know. I hope so." "I think she would. You're nice like she was." Chloe yawned hugely. "And you make Daddy smile. He didn't smile much after Mommy left." At 8:30, Emily tried to enforce bedtime. At 8:45, after extensive negotiations, Chloe agreed to get ready for bed if Emily would read her 3 stories instead of 1. At 9:15, they were finally in Chloe's bedroom, a space that managed to be both expensive and kid-friendly, all white furniture and star-pattern bedding. "Will you stay until I fall asleep?" Chloe asked, already tucked in with her rabbit. Of course. Emily read 3 picture books, then a 4th when Chloe insisted, her voice getting quieter with each page. The little girl fought sleep hard, eyes drooping, then snapping open like she was afraid Emily would vanish. "I'm not going anywhere," Emily promised, smoothing Chloe's hair back. "I'll be right in the living room if you need me." You won't leave in the middle of the night? Not unless there's an emergency, and even then, I'd wake you up first. That seemed to satisfy her. Chloe's eyes finally stayed closed, her breathing evening out into sleep. Emily sat there for another 10 minutes, just watching this little girl who'd somehow burrowed into her heart in less than a week. When she was sure Chloe was deeply asleep, Emily crept out, leaving the door cracked open. The apartment felt enormous and empty, with just her in it. She wandered through rooms she hadn't seen before. Adrian's home office with wall-to-wall bookshelves, a gym that probably cost more than her car, a master bedroom she felt wrong even glancing into. She ended up back in the living room, curled up on the couch with her phone. Adrian had texted twice. Meeting finally over. How's everything? Is she asleep yet or still negotiating? Emily smiled. Asleep as of 20 minutes ago. She drives a hard bargain, though. I caved at 4 bedtime stories. That's her record. Well done. How's Boston? Boring, cold, missing my kid. Emily's fingers hovered over the keyboard before she typed, Just your kid? The 3 dots appeared and disappeared several times. No, not just my kid. Emily's heart did a complicated flip. She was in dangerous territory here, flirting with a man she barely knew while babysitting his daughter in his multi-million-dollar apartment. This was how people got hurt. You should sleep, she typed. Early flight tomorrow, probably. Thank you again for doing this. Seriously, I don't know what I would have done. Any time. She meant it, which was terrifying. Emily tried to sleep on the couch, but gave up after an hour of staring at the ceiling. The city never really went dark from this high up, and her mind wouldn't shut off. She kept replaying the evening, Chloe's laughter, the easy domesticity of it all, the way it felt like something she could get used to. Around 2 a.m., she heard a sound from Chloe's room. A whimper, then crying. Emily was on her feet before she fully processed it, hurrying down the hall. Chloe was sitting up in bed, tears streaming down her face, caught in that space between sleep and wake. Hey, it's okay. Emily sat on the bed, pulling the little girl into her arms. I'm here. You're safe. I had a bad dream. Mommy was leaving and I couldn't follow her and Daddy was gone too and she hiccuped, sobbing into Emily's shoulder. It was just a dream, sweetheart. Your dad's coming home tomorrow. I'm right here. Everyone leaves. Everyone always leaves. The words hit Emily like a punch. She knew that fear intimately, had carried it her whole life through foster homes and temporary families and people who promised to stay, but never did. I know, she whispered. I know it feels like that. But your dad loves you more than anything in the world. He's not going anywhere. He left tonight. For work. But he's coming back. That's different from leaving. Chloe pulled back, wiping her eyes. Do you promise? Emily shouldn't promise things she couldn't control, but looking at this scared little girl who'd lost too much already, she couldn't help herself. I promise. Your dad would move mountains to get back to you. What about you? Will you leave? The question hung in the air between them. Emily wanted to promise she wouldn't, but that felt like a lie. She had no permanent place in their lives. She was just the woman who accidentally received a text message and showed up when asked. I can't promise forever, Emily said carefully, but I can promise that I care about you, and I'm not going anywhere right now, okay? It wasn't enough, but it was honest. Chloe seemed to accept it, settling back against her pillows. Will you stay in here? Just for tonight? Emily looked at the reading chair in the corner. Yeah, I can do that. She curled up in the chair, which was surprisingly comfortable, and watched Chloe drift back to sleep. Her phone buzzed quietly. Can't sleep. Keep thinking about you in my apartment. Emily's pulse jumped. That sounds vaguely creepy. Not like that. Well, maybe a little like that. Mostly just grateful you're there. Chloe had a nightmare. We're okay now. Is she all right? Scared everyone was leaving her. We talked it through. There was a long pause before Adrian responded. She told you that? Yeah. She doesn't usually open up like that, even with her therapist. Maybe she needed someone who gets it. Do you? Get it? Emily stared at the question, then at Chloe sleeping peacefully across the room. Yeah, I do. Thank you for being there. I know I keep saying it, but I mean it. Get some sleep, Adrian. Your daughter will expect full energy tomorrow. Good night, Emily. Good night. She must have dozed off eventually because the next thing she knew, sunlight was streaming through Chloe's windows and a small face was inches from hers. "You stayed," Chloe whispered loudly. Emily blinked awake, her neck protesting the angle she'd slept at. "I said I would. Can we make pancakes with chocolate chips like Mommy used to?" They made a mess of the kitchen. Flour everywhere, chocolate chips on the floor, pancakes that ranged from perfect to completely burnt. Chloe stood on a step stool at the counter, taking her job as chocolate chip distributor very seriously. "More chips in this one. It's for Daddy." "You think he wants diabetes for breakfast?" "He needs extra because he had to go to boring Boston." Emily couldn't argue with that logic. They were eating their creation, which actually turned out decent, when the elevator chimed. Chloe practically flew off her chair. "Daddy!" Adrian looked exhausted, tie loosened, suit rumpled from travel. But when Chloe launched herself at him, his whole face transformed. He scooped her up, holding her tight. "I missed you, baby girl. We made pancakes with lots of chocolate chips." "I can see that." His eyes found Emily over Chloe's head. She was suddenly very aware that she was wearing the same clothes from yesterday. Her hair was a mess, and there was probably flour on her face. "Morning," she said, feeling awkward. "Morning." His voice was warm. "Everything go okay?" "We survived. Barely." Chloe wiggled down and ran to get her tablet, leaving them alone in the kitchen. Adrian moved closer and Emily could smell his cologne mixed with airport and coffee. "She had a nightmare," Emily said quietly. "Around 2 a.m., scared everyone was leaving. I slept in her room just in case." Adrian's expression shifted to concern. "She okay now?" "Better. We talked. She just needed reassurance." "From you." "I was the only adult here." "It's more than that." He reached out like he might touch her face, then caught himself. "Can we talk? After I change and spend some time with Chloe?" Emily nodded, suddenly nervous. "Yeah, sure." An hour later, after Chloe had shown her father every single thing they'd done while he was gone, Adrian suggested she watch her tablet in her room for a bit. The little girl went without argument, sensing adult conversation brewing. Adrian sat on the couch next to Emily, closer than strictly necessary. He'd changed into jeans and a t-shirt, looking more human and less CEO. "So," he started. "So, this is weird, right? All of this?" Emily laughed nervously. "Extremely weird. You barely know us. I barely know you. But somehow you're sitting in my apartment after spending the night taking care of my daughter like it's completely normal." "I don't know what this is," Emily admitted. "I came here to help with a school project. Now I'm having feelings I definitely shouldn't be having." "What kind of feelings?" She looked at him, really looked at him. The exhaustion in his eyes, the careful hope in his expression, the way he held himself like he expected rejection but was asking anyway. "The kind that make me want to stay," she said quietly. "The kind that scare me because I don't fit here and we both know it." "What if I want you to fit here?" "Adrian, I know it's fast, I know it's crazy, but I haven't felt this alive in 2 years." His voice was raw. "You walked into our lives and suddenly everything's in color again. Chloe's laughing, I'm laughing. The apartment doesn't feel like a mausoleum." "I'm not a magic fix for your grief." "I know that. This isn't about replacing what I lost. It's about—" He struggled for words. "It's about finding something I didn't know I was allowed to want again." Emily felt tears prickling her eyes. "I'm terrified." "Of what?" "Of this being temporary, of getting attached and having it fall apart, of your daughter loving me and then losing another person." She wiped at her eyes angrily. "I grew up losing people, Adrian, over and over. I can't do that to Chloe. I won't." "Then don't." He caught her hand. "Don't leave. Stay." "For how long?" "As long as you want. As long as it feels right." His thumb traced circles on her palm. "I'm not asking you to marry me tomorrow. I'm just asking you to give this a chance. Give us a chance." Emily looked at their joined hands, then at his face, then toward the hallway where Chloe was probably eavesdropping. "This is insane. Completely. I work 60 hours a week at minimum wage. You run a tech empire." "So?" "So we don't make sense. The best things never do." He smiled slightly. "You think I planned this? That I meant to fall for the woman who accidentally got my breakdown text?" "You're falling for me?" "I fell 3 days ago when you stayed in Chloe's room all night, even though that chair is uncomfortable as hell." His voice dropped. Maybe before that. Maybe the moment you showed up at my door with a solar system kit and asked for nothing in return. Emily couldn't breathe. This was too much, too fast, too everything. But when she looked at Adrian, all she saw was sincerity and hope and something that looked dangerously like love. I need time, she managed, to think, to figure out if this is real or if we're both just lonely. Take all the time you need. He brought her hand to his lips, kissing her knuckles gently. I'll be here. Chloe chose that moment to come running back in, launching herself between them on the couch. Are you guys done talking about boring adult stuff? Adrian laughed, pulling his daughter close. For now. Good. Emily, can you stay for lunch? Emily looked at Adrian, who was looking at her with such naked hope it made her chest ache. Yeah, she heard herself say. I can stay for lunch. It was a small answer to a much bigger question, but it was a start. Staying for lunch turned into staying for dinner. Dinner turned into movie night with Chloe falling asleep between them on the couch, her head on Emily's lap, feet in Adrian's. They didn't talk about the conversation from earlier, just existed in the comfortable silence of people learning how to be around each other. When Emily finally left that night, Adrian walked her to the elevator like he always did. But this time, right before the doors closed, he caught her hand. Thank you for staying. You already said that. I meant for more than lunch. The door slid shut on his smile, leaving Emily alone with her racing thoughts all the way down 40 floors. The next 2 weeks fell into a rhythm that felt dangerously like normal. Emily worked her shifts at the cafe, and in between she found herself at the penthouse more often than her own apartment. Some nights she'd arrive to help Chloe with homework. Other times she'd just show up because Adrian texted that they were ordering Thai food and had extra. Once she came over at 10 p.m. because Chloe had another nightmare and asked for her specifically. Maria noticed immediately. You're different. I'm the same. You're smiling at your phone every 5 seconds. You left early yesterday. You never leave early. Maria wiped down the counter, eyes sharp. This guy serious? Emily thought about how to answer that. Was Adrian serious? Were they even a thing? They hadn't kissed, hadn't defined whatever this was. They just existed in this weird limbo of late-night texts and shared meals and moments where their hands would brush and neither would pull away. I don't know what it is yet, but you want it to be something. Yeah, Emily admitted, I really do. Then stop overthinking it. You deserve good things too, you know. Did she? Emily had spent so long surviving that she'd forgotten what it felt like to actually want something beyond next month's rent. But every time she saw Adrian look at her like she was solving some equation he'd been stuck on for years, or Chloe grabbed her hand like it was the most natural thing in the world, she let herself want it a little more. On a Wednesday evening, 3 weeks after that first accidental text, everything shifted. Emily arrived at the penthouse to find Adrian pacing the living room, phone pressed to his ear, his voice tight with frustration. I don't care what the board wants. Tell them I'm not negotiating on the timeline. He paused, listening. Then they can take their concerns and... He noticed Emily and modulated his tone. We'll discuss this tomorrow. I'm done for tonight. He ended the call and tossed his phone on the couch with more force than necessary. Bad day? The worst. He scrubbed his hands over his face. Corporate politics. Everyone wants a piece of something and nobody wants to do the actual work. Emily set down her bag. Where's Chloe? At my in-laws. They wanted her for the night. His expression went complicated. Rebecca's parents. They still struggle with me moving forward. Tonight felt easier than arguing. So they were alone. Completely alone for the first time since this whole thing started. The air felt different, charged with possibility and tension. You want to talk about it? Emily asked. The work thing? Not even a little bit. Adrian moved to the bar cart, pouring himself something amber. You want one? I don't really drink. Smart woman. He downed the shot anyway, wincing. I hate this part. The endless meetings, the power plays, the people who smile while plotting how to undermine you. Then why do it? Because I built this company from nothing. Because walking away means letting vultures pick it apart. He poured another drink but didn't touch it. And because I don't know who I am if I'm not Adrian Vale, CEO. Emily moved closer, drawn by the raw honesty in his voice. You're Chloe's dad. That's someone. Is it enough? Isn't it? He looked at her, really looked, and something shifted in his expression. You always do that. Do what? Cut through the bullshit. Make me remember what actually matters. He set the glass down untouched and closed the distance between them. How are you real, Emily Carter? Her breath caught. They were standing too close, close enough that she could see the flecks of gold in his eyes, close enough to feel the heat radiating off him. Adrian, I want to kiss you. His voice was rough. I've wanted to kiss you for 2 weeks, but I need to know you want this too, that I'm not imagining what's happening here. Emily's heart was trying to exit her chest. You're not imagining it. Then tell me to stop if you don't want... She kissed him before he could finish the sentence, rising on her toes to close the final gap between them. His arms came around her immediately, pulling her against him like he'd been waiting for permission. The kiss was everything their careful distance hadn't been, desperate and real and terrifying in its intensity. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Adrian rested his forehead against hers. I'm falling for you. I know it's too fast and too complicated, but I can't pretend anymore. Good, Emily whispered, because I'm falling too and it's scaring the hell out of me. He kissed her again, softer this time, like he was memorizing the shape of her mouth. When he pulled back, his smile was the most genuine she'd ever seen. Stay tonight, please. Just stay. They ended up on the couch, Emily tucked against his side, talking until 3 a.m. about everything and nothing. Adrian told her about building his company in a garage at 22, about meeting Rebecca in college and knowing immediately she was it, about the gutting process of watching her fade away while trying to hold himself together for Chloe. Emily told him about the foster care system, about the family that almost adopted her when she was 10 before changing their minds, about aging out at 18 with nothing but a garbage bag of belongings and $300, about learning to survive alone because counting on people only led to disappointment. You're not alone anymore, Adrian said quietly, not if you don't want to be. That's a big promise. I don't make promises I can't keep. They fell asleep there, wrapped around each other, and Emily woke at dawn to find Adrian watching her with an expression so tender it made her chest ache. What? Nothing, just memorizing this. Creep. He laughed and kissed her forehead. Come on, I'll make you breakfast before you have to go to work. The breakfast was terrible, burnt eggs and toast that was more carbon than bread, but Emily ate it anyway, touched that he'd tried. They moved around the kitchen with surprising ease, bumping hips and trading coffee cups and falling into a domestic rhythm that felt years old instead of brand new. Emily's phone buzzed, Maria, asking where she was. Reality crashed back in. She had a shift in an hour, and she was still wearing yesterday's clothes, and she needed to go home and change and pretend her whole world hadn't shifted overnight. I have to go. Adrian caught her hand. I'll send a car. The subway's fine. Emily. I can't get used to cars and drivers and all of this. She gestured at the penthouse. That's not my life. It could be. The words hung between them, heavy with implication. Emily pulled her hand back gently. Don't make this about money or what you can give me. That's not why I'm here. I know that. I just want to make things easier for you. I don't need easier. I need real. She grabbed her bag. I'll text you later, okay? She left before he could argue, taking the subway home like always, trying to ground herself in normal when everything felt spectacularly not normal. Work was a blur. Emily poured coffee and took orders and smiled at customers while her mind replayed every moment from the night before. The kiss, the way Adrian had held her like she was precious, the promises neither of them had any business making. Her phone buzzed constantly. Adrian sending random thoughts, photos of Chloe's latest drawing, asking about her day. It felt good. It felt dangerous. It felt like everything she'd ever wanted and been too afraid to reach for. 3 days later, reality came crashing down in the form of Adrian's in-laws. Emily had just arrived at the penthouse, invited for dinner, nothing special, when the elevator doors opened to reveal an older couple already inside. The woman was elegant in that old money way, perfectly styled gray hair and pearls. The man looked like an older version of Adrian might, tall and severe. They looked at Emily like she was something tracked in on someone's shoe. And who might you be? The woman asked, her voice dripping polite venom. Emily, What was she exactly? Friend felt insufficient. Girlfriend felt presumptuous. She's with me. Adrian appeared, Chloe in tow. His expression had gone carefully blank. Margaret, David, I wasn't expecting you. Clearly, Margaret's eyes raked over Emily's cafe uniform. We came to see our granddaughter. I see you have company. The way she said company made it sound like an accusation. Chloe, oblivious to the tension, ran to hug her grandparents. Emily's teaching me how to make friendship bracelets. Look! She held up her wrist, showing off a lumpy creation of rainbow threads. How lovely, Margaret said, not looking at it. Her attention stayed fixed on Emily. And how exactly do you know Adrian? We met a few weeks ago, Adrian said firmly. Emily, why don't you and Chloe go start on dinner? I need to speak with Margaret and David. It was a dismissal wrapped in politeness. Emily felt her face flush but nodded, taking Chloe's hand and heading for the kitchen. Behind them, she heard the conversation start in low, tense tones. Chloe seemed unconcerned, chattering about her day while they pulled ingredients from the fridge. But Emily's hands were shaking slightly. She'd known this moment would come, meeting the family, facing judgment, but she hadn't expected it to feel like this, like she was being weighed and found wanting before she'd even opened her mouth. Don't think this is appropriate, Margaret's voice carried from the living room. It hasn't even been 3 years since Rebecca— That's enough. Adrian's voice was hard. This is my home and my life. And our granddaughter's life. Have you thought about what message this sends to Chloe? Some woman showing up, playing house? Emily's stomach dropped. Chloe had gone very still beside her, no longer chattering. Her little face had that carefully blank expression kids get when they're pretending not to hear things that hurt. Hey, Emily said softly. How about you show me where your dad keeps the pasta? They don't like you. Chloe's voice was small. They don't know me yet. That's different. Grammy didn't like Daddy's last assistant either, or his friend Jennifer. She doesn't think anyone's good enough. Chloe looked up at her with eyes too old for 7. Are you going to leave now? The question gutted her. Is that what you think? That I'd leave because things got hard? Everyone does eventually. Emily knelt down, taking Chloe's small hands in hers. Listen to me. Your grandparents are protecting their family. That's what grandparents do. They loved your mom very much, and they're scared of losing her memory. That doesn't have anything to do with you and me. But what if they make you go away? Nobody makes me do anything I don't want to do. Emily smoothed Chloe's hair back. I'm here because I care about you and your dad, not because it's easy, okay? Chloe nodded, but the worry didn't leave her eyes. They went back to cooking prep, but the easy atmosphere from before was gone. Replaced by the weight of adult drama neither of them could fully escape. The voices from the living room escalated. Emily caught fragments. Gold digger. Taking advantage. Rebecca would be devastated. Each phrase landing like a physical blow. She kept her focus on Chloe, on making dinner, on pretending she couldn't hear her worth being debated in the next room. Finally, Adrian's voice cut through, loud and final. Get out, both of you. Silence. Then Margaret's sharp intake of breath. Adrian, I said get out. You don't get to come into my home and attack someone I care about. You don't get to weaponize Rebecca's memory against me. We're thinking of Chloe. No, you're thinking of yourselves, of what makes you comfortable. His voice dropped, but Emily could hear the fury underneath. Emily has shown my daughter more genuine care in 3 weeks than you've shown in 3 months. So you can either accept that I'm moving forward with my life, or you can leave. Your choice. More silence. Then footsteps toward the elevator. Margaret's voice, cold and clipped. This isn't over, Adrian. We'll be speaking to our lawyer about visitation. The elevator doors closed. Adrian appeared in the kitchen doorway, his face tight with anger and something that looked like grief. I'm sorry you had to hear that. Emily kept her eyes on the cutting board. It's fine. It's not fine. What they said was cruel and unfair and— True? Emily finally looked at him. I am a waitress who showed up in your life 3 weeks ago. I don't have money or status or anything to offer except myself. From their perspective, I probably do look like I'm taking advantage. You know that's not what this is? Do I? Emily set down the knife. Adrian, they're right about one thing. This is moving fast, maybe too fast. Maybe we need to slow down and actually think about what we're doing. Chloe made a small sound of distress. Adrian's jaw tightened. Is that what you want? To slow down? I don't know what I want anymore. Emily's voice cracked. I just know I don't want to be the reason you lose your relationship with your in-laws. I don't want Chloe caught in the middle of adult drama. I don't want— Daddy, Make her stay. Chloe's voice was small but fierce. Please. Adrian moved to his daughter, kneeling beside her. Hey, nobody's going anywhere right now. We're all going to take a breath and have dinner like we planned, okay? But Grammy said things she shouldn't have said. That's not Emily's fault or your fault. It's just adults being difficult. He looked up at Emily, pleading in his eyes. Can we just have dinner, please? We can talk about everything else later. Emily wanted to run. Every instinct told her to grab her bag and leave before this got more complicated. But looking at Chloe's tear-bright eyes and Adrian's desperate hope, she found herself nodding. Dinner was strained despite their best efforts. Chloe was quieter than usual, pushing food around her plate. Adrian kept trying to fill the silence with conversation that fell flat. Emily just felt like an imposter at a table where she didn't belong. After Chloe went to bed, with extra hugs for Emily that felt like goodbye, Adrian poured himself a drink he actually consumed this time. They threatened to lawyer up about visitation, he said flatly. That's their power play. Make me choose between you and seeing my daughter. Emily's stomach churned. Then there's no choice. Chloe needs her grandparents. Chloe needs people who put her first, not their own grief. He downed the drink. They've barely been present since Rebecca died. Suddenly I'm dating someone and they're fighting for rights they haven't exercised in months? Dating? Emily latched onto the word. Is that what we're doing? Adrian looked at her, and his expression went soft despite everything. I'd like to be, if you still want that. I don't know how to fit in your world, Adrian. Tonight made that pretty clear. My world can change. Can it, though? You're a billionaire CEO. I make $9 an hour plus tips. Your in-laws took one look at me and saw dollar signs and ulterior motives. Emily wrapped her arms around herself. What happens when your board finds out? Your business partners? When photos show up online of Manhattan's most eligible bachelor with some nobody waitress? You're not a nobody. To them, I am. And maybe that doesn't matter to you right now, but eventually it will. The whispers, the judgment, people assuming I'm only with you for money. Stop. Adrian set down his glass and moved to her, taking her face in his hands. I don't give a damn what people think. I care about you. I care about what you've brought into our lives. The rest is just noise. Noise that could hurt Chloe. Chloe adores you. You saw how she was tonight, terrified you'd leave. Exactly. She's already too attached. If this falls apart, then we make sure it doesn't fall apart. His thumb traced her cheekbone. I'm not asking you to have all the answers right now. I'm just asking you not to run. Emily closed her eyes against the tears threatening to spill. I'm scared. Me too. He kissed her forehead. But I'd rather be scared with you than safe without you. They stood there as the kitchen, holding each other like lifelines, while Emily's mind spun with impossible questions. Could this actually work? Could she really step into Adrian's world without losing herself? Could she risk her heart on something that felt too good to be real? She stayed the nights again, neither of them willing to let go. They didn't talk about the future or make plans they couldn't keep. They just existed in the present, stealing a few more hours before reality demanded answers. The next morning, Emily woke to her phone vibrating aggressively. 12 missed calls from Maria, 3 from her landlord. Her heart sank even before she listened to the voicemail. Water main break. Her entire apartment building was flooded. Tenants needed to evacuate immediately. No, 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 no. Emily was already out of bed, pulling on clothes. Adrian appeared in the doorway, alarmed. What's wrong? My apartment's flooded. I have to go. She made it downtown in record time, but the damage was worse than she'd imagined. Water pouring down the stairs, emergency crews everywhere, her landlord blocking the entrance, looking harassed. Can I get my things? 3rd floor and up only, and be quick about it. Whole building's condemned until we get this sorted. Emily's apartment was on the 2nd floor, which meant everything she owned was currently underwater or would be soon. She stood on the sidewalk, watching water stream from her building, and felt the last bit of control she had over her life slip away. No apartment, no belongings, nowhere to go except her phone rang. Adrian, where are you? You left without... My building's flooded. Everything I own is destroyed. Her voice came out flat, shocked. I don't know what to do. Come back here. Adrian, please, just come back. We'll figure it out. Emily looked at the building, at the life she'd barely managed to hold together now literally washing away, and made a choice she wasn't sure was wise or desperate or both. "Okay, I'm coming back." She showed up at the penthouse an hour later, still in shock, with nothing but her purse and the clothes on her back. Chloe was at school. Adrian opened the door and pulled her into his arms without a word. "I've got you," he murmured into her hair. "Whatever you need, I've got you." Emily finally let herself cry, all the fear and frustration and overwhelming nature of the last 12 hours pouring out. Adrian just held her, steady and solid, while her world fell apart. When she could finally breathe again, she pulled back. "This doesn't mean I'm not using this as an excuse to—" "I know. You're here because you have nowhere else to go right now. That's okay." He guided her to the couch. "Stay as long as you need. No strings, no expectations. Your in-laws will have a field day with this." "I don't care about them. I care about you." He brushed hair from her face. "Let me help, please." It went against every independent instinct Emily had. But sitting in Adrian's penthouse with nothing to her name except the phone in her hand, she was out of options. "Just until I figure something else out." "However long you need." They spent the day navigating logistics, calling her insurance, which would cover almost nothing, reaching out to her landlord about her deposit, canceling utilities, the mundane details of disaster. Adrian handled most of it, making calls while Emily sat numbly on the couch, trying to process that everything she owned was gone. When Chloe came home from school and found Emily still there, her face lit up like someone had given her the best present ever. "You're staying, like staying. Just for a little while," Emily said carefully, "until I find a new place." "But you could stay forever, right?" Chloe looked between her and Adrian with naked hope. "We have lots of rooms." Adrian caught Emily's eye over his daughter's head, a question in his expression. Emily looked away first. "Let's just take it one day at a time, okay?" That night, Adrian insisted she take the guest room, a space bigger than her entire apartment had been, with its own bathroom and a bed that felt like sleeping on clouds. Emily lay awake staring at the ceiling, wondering how her life had become unrecognizable in less than a month. Her phone buzzed. "Adrian, you okay?" "Define okay." "Fair point. Can't sleep either." "This is weird, right? Me living here?" "A little. Good weird, though. Your in-laws are going to lose their minds." "Already lost them. Can't lose them twice." Despite everything, Emily smiled. "Thank you. For today. For all of it. Stop thanking me. You'd do the same." "Would I, though?" "I don't have anything to offer. You have you. That's everything." Emily stared at those words until they blurred. Then she typed, "Good night, Adrian. Good night. I'm down the hall if you need anything." She almost got up, almost walked down that hall and climbed into his bed and let herself have this thing she wanted so desperately. But fear kept her frozen. Fear that this was too good, that she'd ruin it, that wanting something this much was exactly how you lost it. So she stayed in the guest room alone, while down the hall Adrian did the same, both of them awake and wanting and too afraid to bridge the final gap. Morning came too early, sunlight streaming through windows that faced east over Central Park. Emily woke disoriented, forgetting for a moment where she was until the sheer size of the room reminded her. Guest room, penthouse, everything she owned destroyed except what she'd been wearing yesterday. She needed clothes, toiletries, all the basic things that made a person functional. The thought of asking Adrian for money made her skin crawl, but showing up to work in yesterday's outfit wasn't an option either. When she emerged from the bedroom, she found Chloe already awake, sitting at the kitchen counter with cereal, still in her pajamas. The little girl's face brightened immediately. "Morning! Daddy said you're staying for a while." "Morning, sweetheart. Where's your dad?" "Conference call in his office. He said not to interrupt unless someone's bleeding or the building's on fire." Chloe swung her legs, unconcerned. "Are those the same clothes from yesterday?" "Yeah, I need to go shopping today." "Can I come, please? I never get to go shopping with anyone except Daddy, and he's terrible at it." Emily couldn't help smiling. "I have to work this afternoon." "But this morning? Just for a little bit?" The pleading look was hard to resist. Emily was saved from answering by Adrian appearing from the hallway, phone still pressed to his ear, looking exhausted. He'd clearly been up for hours, hair disheveled, wearing the same clothes he'd slept in. "I don't care what the projections say, Tom. The timeline doesn't work. We need... He paused, seeing Emily. His expression softened instantly. I'll call you back. He ended the call and scrubbed a hand over his face. Morning. Did you sleep? Some. You? Define sleep. He moved to the coffee maker like it was a lifeline. I have meetings all day, but I can cancel. Don't. I'm fine. I just need to grab some basics, clothes, stuff like that. Adrian pulled out his wallet and extracted a credit card without hesitation. Emily stared at it like he'd offered her a live grenade. I can't take that. Emily, I have my own money. Not much, but enough for some clothes from Target. You're not going to Target when I can... He stopped himself, seeing her expression. This isn't about money. It's about helping someone I care about who lost everything yesterday. It feels like charity. It's not charity. It's what people do for each other. He set the card on the counter between them. Please, just use it for the essentials. Pay me back if it makes you feel better, but don't punish yourself because your pride won't let me help. Chloe was watching this exchange with wide eyes, her cereal forgotten. Emily picked up the card, hating how much she needed it. Just for basics, and I'm paying you back. Whatever makes you comfortable. Adrian's phone rang again. He glanced at it and grimaced. I have to take this. Chloe, behave. Emily, there's... The phone kept ringing insistently. Sorry, we'll talk later. He disappeared back into his office, voice already shifting into CEO mode. Chloe hopped down from her stool. So can I come shopping? I promise I'll be good, and I won't ask for anything, and I'll help you pick out pretty things. Emily looked at this little girl who'd somehow become essential to her in less than a month and felt her resistance crumble. Go get dressed. We leave in 20 minutes. Chloe squealed and ran for her room. Emily stared at the credit card in her hand, feeling the weight of what it represented. Dependence. Obligation. The slow erosion of the independence she'd fought so hard to maintain. But she needed clothes. And Chloe wanted to come, and maybe letting people help wasn't the worst thing in the world. They took a car because Chloe insisted, and because Emily wasn't sure she could navigate the subway with shopping bags and a 7-year-old. The driver dropped them at a department store that made Emily's Target budget look like pocket change, but she gritted her teeth and walked inside anyway. Chloe took her job as shopping assistant very seriously, pulling things off racks with the confidence of someone who'd never had to check price tags. Emily kept redirecting her toward the sales section, quietly putting back anything that cost more than $50. But this one's so pretty on you. Chloe held up a dress that probably cost more than Emily's weekly paycheck. It's too expensive, honey. Daddy said to get whatever you need. This isn't need, this is want. There's a difference. Emily grabbed 3 basic shirts, 2 pairs of jeans, underwear that made her blush to buy in front of a child. This is good. Let's go. You didn't even try anything on. I know my size. Chloe looked disappointed but didn't argue. At the register, Emily's hands shook slightly as she handed over Adrian's card. The total made her stomach drop, $463 for basics. She could have survived a month on that amount. The cashier barely blinked, just processed the payment and handed over bags with a smile that said this was nothing. Emily felt sick. In the car heading back, Chloe was quiet for once, looking out the window with a thoughtful expression. Are you mad at Daddy? Emily blinked. What? No, why would you think that? You got all weird when he tried to give you the card, and you looked sad in the store. Kids saw too much. Emily chose her words carefully. I'm not mad. I just don't like depending on people for money. It makes me uncomfortable. Why? Because when you depend on people, they can take it away, use it against you, make you feel like you owe them. She paused. Your dad's not like that, I know. But old habits die hard. Chloe processed this with the seriousness of someone much older. People hurt you before, when you were a kid. It wasn't a question. Emily wondered what Adrian had told her, or what she'd pieced together on her own. Yeah, they did. Daddy won't hurt you. He's one of the good ones. The simple faith in her voice made Emily's chest tight. I know, sweetheart. I'm just learning how to trust that. Back at the penthouse, Adrian was off his call and visibly stressed, tie loosened, sleeves rolled up. He looked up when they entered, and Emily saw the moment he registered the single shopping bag in her hand. That's it? That's all you got? It's enough. Emily, you lost everything. You need more than... He reached for the bag, looking inside. 3 shirts, 2 jeans, basic undergarments. His jaw tightened. You spent $400 on this? You can see the receipt if you want to verify. That's not what I meant. He set the bag down. I meant you should have gotten more. Actually replaced what you lost. I replaced what I needed. What about shoes, coats? It's October, you'll need warm clothes, toiletries, makeup, whatever else you use. I can get that stuff gradually, with my own money. Adrian looked like he wanted to argue, but Chloe was watching with concerned eyes. He modulated his tone with visible effort. Can we talk? Privately? Emily followed him to his office, anxiety coiling in her stomach. The moment the door closed, Adrian turned to face her. Why are you fighting me on this? I'm not fighting you. I'm maintaining boundaries. By refusing to let me help you after a disaster that wasn't your fault? By not becoming completely dependent on you. Emily crossed her arms. You don't understand what it's like, Adrian. You've never had nothing. You've never had to rely on someone else's generosity and hope they don't use it as leverage. You think I would do that? Use helping you as some kind of power play? No. But the situation does it for you. I'm living in your house, using your card, eating your food. Every day I'm here, I owe you more. Her voice cracked. And when this falls apart, because things like this always fall apart, where does that leave me? Adrian's expression shifted from frustration to understanding. You're looking for the exit before you even give this a real chance. I'm protecting myself. There's a difference. Is there? He moved closer. Emily, I'm not asking you to give up your independence. I'm asking you to let someone care about you without keeping score. I don't know how to do that. Then learn, with me, with us. He caught her hand. I'm not going anywhere, and I'm not going to use what I have against you, but you have to actually trust that. Emily looked at their joined hands, then at his face. What if I can't? Then we figure it out together, but don't run before we even try. The office door burst open. Chloe stood there, tears streaming down her face, holding a tablet. Daddy, they're saying mean things about Emily on the computer. Adrian's expression went from tender to ice cold in a heartbeat. What? Chloe handed over the tablet with shaking hands. On the screen was a gossip website, the headline in bold. Manhattan's most eligible bachelor moves mystery woman into penthouse, gold digger, or true love. Below it were photos. Emily leaving the building yesterday. Emily and Chloe shopping this morning. Emily and Adrian on his balcony 3 nights ago, close enough to be kissing though they hadn't been. The caption speculated wildly about who she was, what she wanted, whether Adrian was being taken advantage of in his grief. The comments were worse. Hundreds of strangers dissecting her appearance, her clothes, her obvious lack of money, calling her a leech, a manipulator, a woman clearly using a rich widower. Someone had already dug up her employment history, every restaurant she'd worked at, her lack of education beyond high school, even her time in foster care. Emily felt the room spin. How did they? My in-laws. Adrian's voice was deadly quiet. This has Margaret's fingerprints all over it. Everyone's going to see this. Your business partners, your board, everyone in your world. I don't care. You should care. They're calling me a gold digger, Adrian. They're saying I'm using you, that I moved in here to trap you. And anyone who knows me knows that's garbage. He tried to pull her close, but she stepped back. This is exactly what I was afraid of. The scrutiny, the judgment, strangers picking apart my life. We'll release a statement. I'll have my PR team. Your PR team? Emily laughed bitterly. Listen to yourself. This is your world, not mine. I don't have a PR team to clean up messes. I'm the mess. Don't say that. It's true, though, isn't it? I'm the complication, the problem, the waitress who doesn't belong in your billionaire life. She looked at Chloe, whose tears were falling faster now. I'm sorry, sweetheart. This isn't your fault. Emily grabbed her new bag of clothes and headed for the door. Adrian caught her arm. Where are you going? Away. Before this gets worse, before they start going after Chloe. They won't. They already are. Someone posted that photo of her this morning. A 7-year-old, Adrian. Your daughter is being dragged into tabloid drama because of me. So we protect her, together. I can't protect anyone. I can barely protect myself. Emily pulled free. I need space, to think, to figure out if I can actually do this. Emily, please, let her go, Daddy. Chloe's small voice cut through the tension. She's scared, like I get scared. You can't force people not to be scared. Adrian looked at his daughter, then at Emily. conflict written across his face. Finally, he nodded. "Where will you go?" "Maria's couch. Just for a few days." Emily's voice was barely steady. "I'm not disappearing. I just need to breathe." She made it to the elevator before the tears started, made it to the lobby before they became sobs. The doorman pretended not to notice as she stumbled outside, clutching her single bag of possessions, feeling like her life was imploding for the second time in 48 hours. Maria took one look at her face and pulled her inside without questions. The apartment was tiny, cluttered, nothing like the penthouse Emily had just fled. It felt like home. What happened? Emily told her everything, the flooding, moving in with Adrian, the article, the comments. Maria listened without interrupting, then handed her a beer. "So you ran?" "I didn't run. I retreated strategically." "You ran." Maria's voice was kind but firm. "Because things got real and scary and you defaulted to your trauma response." "That's not—" Emily stopped. "Okay, maybe a little. Honey, I've known you for 3 years. Every time something good starts happening, you find a reason to sabotage it. Bad dates, good job opportunities, that apartment with the cheaper rent, you always pull back right when things might actually work out. Because good things don't last. Not for people like me. And how do you know that if you never let them last?" Maria sat beside her. "This guy sounds like he actually cares. His kid adores you. Yeah, his world is scary and complicated, but whose isn't?" "Mine isn't. Mine is simple. Poor, but simple. And lonely. Don't forget lonely." Maria squeezed her hand. "You deserve good things too, but you have to let yourself have them." Emily's phone had been buzzing non-stop. 17 messages from Adrian, 12 from a number she didn't recognize. She opened the unknown messages first. The first was a photo, Chloe holding a sign that read, "I miss you already" in crayon. The second, "This is Chloe on Daddy's phone. Please come back. I don't care what the mean people say." The third, "You're still my favorite person, and I love you." Emily's vision blurred. A 7-year-old who'd lost her mother was using the word love like it wasn't terrifying, like it was just a fact, simple and true. She opened Adrian's messages. "I'm sorry for everything, for not protecting you better from this." Margaret admitted she tipped off the press. "I've cut contact. She won't see Chloe until she apologizes to you. My PR team is working on it. We'll get the worst articles taken down. Chloe's devastated. She thinks you left because of her. I know you need space. Take it. But please know we want you here, both of us. This is your home if you want it. I love you." I should have said it before. I love you, and I'm not going to stop loving you because some strangers online don't understand what we have. The last message broke something open in Emily's chest. She'd spent so long protecting herself that she'd forgotten what it felt like to be fought for. To have someone choose her despite the complications. "I think I messed up," she whispered. Maria smiled. "Then fix it. But not tonight. Tonight you process. Tomorrow you figure out what you actually want instead of what fear tells you to want." Emily spent the night on Maria's lumpy couch, staring at Chloe's messages, reading Adrian's words over and over. The internet was still ripping her apart. She made the mistake of checking. But somewhere between the vicious comments and invasive speculation, she found perspective. These people didn't know her, didn't know Adrian, didn't know the accidental text that started everything, or the way Chloe laughed when they built blanket forts, or how Adrian looked at her like she was solving puzzles he'd been stuck on for years. They saw a story that fit their narrative. Rich man, poor woman, obvious gold digger. But they didn't see the truth underneath, two broken people learning how to be whole together. Morning came with clarity. Emily borrowed clothes from Maria, took the subway to the penthouse, and stood outside the building gathering courage. The doorman recognized her immediately. "Ms. Carter, Mr. Vale left word you're always welcome up." "Even after the articles?" The man's expression softened. "Especially after the articles. Anyone with eyes can see how that little girl lights up around you. That's not something you fake." Emily rode the elevator up, her heart hammering. She had no speech prepared, no clear plan. She just knew she was tired of running. The elevator doors opened. Chloe was sitting on the floor right there, like she'd been waiting. When she saw Emily, her face crumpled. "You came back." "I came back." Emily knelt down. "I'm so sorry I left like that. You were right. I got scared. But being scared isn't a good enough reason to hurt people I care about." Chloe threw herself into Emily's arms with enough force to nearly knock her over.
I thought you were gone forever. Not forever. Not even close. Emily held her tight. Where's your dad? Office. On the phone again. He's been on the phone all night talking to people about fixing the mean articles. Emily found him there, still in yesterday's clothes, looking like he hadn't slept at all. He was mid-sentence when he saw her in the doorway and stopped talking entirely. I'll call you back. He ended the call without waiting for a response. You're here. I'm here. Emily stepped inside, closing the door behind her. I'm sorry I ran. You were trying to help, and I made it about all my damage instead of trusting what we're building. Adrian crossed to her in 3 strides, pulling her against him. I'm sorry I didn't prepare you better for what dating me would mean. The scrutiny, the press, my in-laws being vindictive. Is it always going to be like this? Honestly? Sometimes yes. The price of visibility. He pulled back to look at her. But my PR team got most of the articles taken down. We're threatening legal action against the sites that published photos of Chloe without permission, and I've made it clear to everyone in my life that you're not going anywhere unless you choose to leave. I don't want to leave. The words came out quieter than intended. I want to stay. I want this. Us. Even when it's scary. Yeah? Yeah, but I need you to understand something. Emily took a breath. I'm going to be bad at this sometimes. At accepting help, at trusting that good things can last. My default setting is survival mode, and that doesn't shut off easily. So we'll figure it out together. You tell me when I'm pushing too hard. I'll tell you when you're running, when you should stay. We'll mess up and apologize and keep trying. That simple? That complicated? He smiled slightly. But worth it. You're worth it. Emily kissed him then, pouring everything she couldn't say into the contact. When they broke apart, Adrian was smiling for real. I meant what I said last night. I love you. That's crazy. You barely know me. I know enough. I know you make my daughter laugh. I know you paint planets with the same care other people reserve for actual important things. I know you're brave even when you're terrified, and you showed up in my life exactly when I'd given up on feeling anything again. He touched her face gently. So yeah, maybe it's crazy, but it's also true. Emily felt tears prickling. I think I love you too, which is definitely crazy. Want to be crazy together? Absolutely. They found Chloe in the living room pretending to watch cartoons, but clearly eavesdropping. She looked up when they entered, hope written across her face. Are you staying? For real this time? Emily looked at Adrian, who nodded almost imperceptibly. She took a breath and made the choice that terrified and thrilled her in equal measure. For real this time. If that's okay with you. Chloe launched off the couch and into Emily's arms. Yes, this is the best day ever. Over the next week, they settled into something that almost resembled normal. Emily kept working her shifts at the cafe despite Adrian's protests, needing the independence even if she was living in his penthouse. The press attention gradually died down once they realized there was no scandal, just 2 people quietly building a relationship. Adrian's PR team released a simple statement. Mr. Vale is moving forward with his life and would appreciate privacy for his family during this time. No confirmation, no denial, just a boundary firmly drawn. Margaret and David made one attempt to apologize. A phone call Adrian put on speaker so Emily could hear the careful non-apology about unfortunate misunderstandings. Adrian had simply said they could see Chloe again when they were ready to treat Emily with respect, then hung up. That's going to cause problems, Emily had warned. Let it. Chloe doesn't need grandparents who make you feel unwelcome. But 2 weeks after the article broke, something shifted. Emily answered the penthouse phone, a landline she'd never heard ring before, and found Margaret on the other end. Is Adrian there? He's at the office. Can I take a message? A long pause. Then, actually, I called to speak with you. Emily's stomach dropped. Okay. I owe you an apology. A real one. Margaret's voice was stiff but sincere. I behaved abominably. I was protecting Rebecca's memory in the worst possible way, and I hurt you and Chloe in the process. Mrs. Whitmore, please, let me finish. I've been watching the photos online, not the invasive ones, the legitimate ones, social media posts from the school, public events. The way my granddaughter looks at you. Her voice cracked slightly. She hasn't looked that happy since before Rebecca got sick. Emily didn't know what to say. Margaret continued, I'm not asking for forgiveness. I don't deserve it yet. But I am asking for a chance to try again, to get to know the woman who's making my son-in-law smile and my granddaughter feel safe. I don't want to replace Rebecca. I could never. I know. I'm beginning to understand that love doesn't work that way, that moving forward isn't erasing the past. Margaret sighed. Would you be willing to meet for coffee? Just the two of us?
Emily looked around the penthouse that had somehow become home, thought about Adrian and Chloe and the fragile, beautiful thing they were building together. Yeah, I can do coffee. They met the next afternoon at a cafe halfway between their worlds. Margaret arrived first, looking less polished than before, more human. They ordered drinks and sat in awkward silence until Margaret spoke. Rebecca would have liked you. Emily blinked. You don't know that. I do, actually. My daughter had excellent instincts about people, and she would have seen what I was too blind to see, that you genuinely care about her family. I love them. The words came out simple, true. I didn't plan to, but I do. I can see that now. I'm sorry it took a tabloid article and my own bad behavior for me to notice. Margaret stirred her coffee absently. Adrian deserves happiness again. Chloe deserves a full life. I let my grief make me selfish. They talked for 2 hours about Rebecca, about loss, about the impossible task of moving forward while honoring what came before. It wasn't perfect. Margaret still had moments of barely concealed pain when Emily mentioned future plans with Chloe, but it was honest, and that counted for something. When Emily got home, and it was home now, she'd stopped fighting that, Adrian was waiting with Chloe doing homework at the dining table. How did it go? Better than expected. She's trying. Emily set down her bag. I think we might actually figure this out. Yeah? Yeah. That night, after Chloe was in bed, Adrian found Emily on the balcony, looking out over the city that had once felt impossibly large and now felt like it might actually have room for her. What are you thinking about? How different my life looks now compared to 2 months ago. She leaned into him when he wrapped his arms around her from behind. I was so lonely I'd convinced myself it was normal, that wanting more was setting myself up for disappointment. And now? Now I'm terrified but happy, which is new. Adrian kissed the top of her head. Good terrified or bad terrified? The kind where I'm scared I'll mess this up, but willing to risk it anyway. That's the best kind. He turned her to face him. I have something for you. He pulled a key from his pocket. Not just any key, an actual key card for the elevator, the kind residents had. This is yours, officially. Your name on the building registry, your own access, everything. Emily stared at the card. Adrian, you've been here 6 weeks. You're not a guest anymore. This is your home if you want it to be. He paused. No pressure. You can still keep looking for your own place if that feels right. But I wanted you to know the options here. We're here. Whenever you're ready. Emily thought about her destroyed apartment, about Maria's couch, about all the temporary places she'd lived in her life. Then she thought about Chloe's laughter and Adrian's steady presence, and the way this penthouse had started feeling less like a glass tower and more like home. Okay. I want to stay, for real, not as a guest or someone in transition, just stay. Adrian's smile was brilliant enough to light the entire city. He kissed her deeply. Joy and relief poured into the contact. When they broke apart, Emily was smiling too. This is crazy, right? We've known each other for 2 months. Absolutely insane. And we're doing it anyway. Absolutely. From inside, they heard Chloe's voice. Are you guys done being mushy? I had another bad dream. They both laughed. Adrian called back, Coming, baby girl. As they headed inside to comfort his daughter, their daughter, Emily was starting to think. She felt something settle in her chest, something that felt a lot like belonging. The road ahead wouldn't be smooth. Margaret would have good days and hard days. The press would probably circle back eventually. Emily would keep fighting her instinct to run when things got scary. Adrian would keep trying to solve problems with money when what she needed was just his presence. But they'd figure it out. Together. Imperfectly and messily and real. And for the first time in her life, Emily believed that good things could last if you were brave enough to hold on to them. 6 months had a way of changing everything and nothing at the same time. Emily still worked at the cafe 3 days a week, despite Adrian's gentle protests. Still took the subway sometimes just to feel normal. Still had moments where she'd wake up in the penthouse and feel like an imposter. But the guest room had become her room. Her toiletries crowded the bathroom counter alongside Adrian's expensive cologne. And Chloe had started calling her family dinners when we're all together, like it was the most natural thing in the world. The spring morning started like most others, Chloe dragging herself to breakfast in pajamas covered in stars, Adrian already on his second coffee and first phone call, Emily trying to convince a 7-year-old that cereal was not an acceptable dinner leftover for breakfast. "But you let me have pizza for breakfast last week," Chloe argued around a yawn. "That was one time and your dad was out of town. Doesn't count." "Everything counts when you're trying to negotiate," Adrian said, ending his call. "She gets that from me." "Great. I'm raising 2 lawyers." Emily slid eggs onto plates. "Eat real food, both of you." It was domestic and ordinary, and Emily still couldn't quite believe it was her life. That she got to have mornings like this, arguments about breakfast and homework reminders, and the comfortable chaos of people learning to be a family. Chloe pushed eggs around her plate, unusually quiet. Adrian noticed first. "What's going on, baby girl? You're never this quiet before school." "There's a thing at school next Friday, for Mother's Day." Chloe's voice went small. "We're supposed to bring our moms and do crafts and stuff." The kitchen went silent except for the coffee maker's gurgling. Emily's heart cracked watching Adrian's face cycle through pain and parental helplessness. "Oh, sweetheart. Can Emily come?" Chloe looked up with desperate hope. "I know she's not my real mom, but she does mom things. She helps with homework and makes me eat vegetables and knows how to braid hair better than you do, Daddy." Adrian looked at Emily, a question in his eyes. Emily felt frozen. This was dangerous territory, stepping into spaces that belonged to Rebecca, potentially overstepping boundaries that hadn't been fully negotiated. "I don't want to," Emily started carefully. "Your mom will always be your mom, Chloe. Nobody can change that." "I know, but she's not here and you are." Chloe's eyes were bright with unshed tears. "Is it bad that I want you there? Does that mean I'm forgetting her?" Emily was across the kitchen in a heartbeat, kneeling beside Chloe's chair. "No, baby, it means you're learning to hold 2 things at once, missing someone who's gone and loving someone who's here. That's not forgetting, that's growing." "So you'll come?" Emily looked at Adrian again. He nodded, trust and gratitude clear in his expression. "I'll come, if your dad says it's okay." "More than okay," Adrian said quietly. "Rebecca would want you to be there. She'd want Chloe to have someone who shows up." Chloe's smile was worth every complicated feeling churning in Emily's chest. The little girl went back to her eggs with renewed energy, chattering about what crafts they'd make. But Emily caught Adrian's hand under the table and held on. They were navigating impossible terrain, honoring the past while building a future. And there was no roadmap for it, just love and intention and the willingness to mess up and try again. After Chloe left for school, Adrian pulled Emily into his office. She knew that look, the one that meant he'd been thinking too hard about something and was about to spring it on her. "So, there's a gala next month, Valcor's annual charity event." He said it casually, but his shoulders were tense. "I'd like you to come, officially, as my partner." Emily's stomach dropped. "That's different from the Mother's Day thing." "How?" "That's for Chloe. This is your world. Investors, board members, all the people who read those articles about me 6 months ago." "Exactly, which is why I want you there, to show everyone that you're not going anywhere." He moved closer. "I know it's asking a lot. The scrutiny will be intense, but we can't keep hiding what we are because some people might judge." "I'm not hiding. I'm being practical." "You're protecting yourself. There's a difference." His voice was gentle but firm. "And I get it. But at some point we have to live publicly, or we're letting fear make our choices." Emily thought about the cafe, where she'd overheard customers gossiping about Adrian Vale's mystery girlfriend just last week, about Margaret's slow warming, the way Chloe's school friends' parents looked at her with curiosity and speculation. She'd been existing in this in-between space, part of Adrian's life, but not fully claiming it. "What if I embarrass you? I don't know which fork to use at fancy dinners. I'll probably say something wrong to the wrong person." "Then you'll be human, which is more than most people at these things can claim." Adrian caught her hands. "I don't need you to be perfect. I need you to be you, the woman who showed up when I needed someone and stayed when it got hard." "You make it sound easy." "It's terrifying, but so is everything worth doing." Emily looked at this man who'd somehow become essential to her existence and made a choice she wasn't sure was brave or reckless. "Okay, I'll go. But I'm wearing something from Target just to make a point." Adrian's laugh was relieved and genuine. You can wear whatever you want, though I should warn you, my assistant will probably have opinions. Your assistant can keep her opinions to herself. I'll be sure to tell her that, right before she quits. The gala was 4 weeks away, which gave Emily plenty of time to panic. Maria found the whole thing hilarious. You're living a literal rom-com. Poor girl goes to ball with billionaire prince. If this is a rom-com, we're in the third act where everything falls apart before the happy ending. Or you're in the part where you stop waiting for disaster and actually let yourself be happy. Maria refilled Emily's coffee during their shift. You've been waiting for the other shoe to drop for 6 months. Maybe there is no other shoe. There's always another shoe. Not if you stop looking up at the sky expecting it to fall. Emily wanted to believe that, but years of foster care had taught her that good things were temporary, that belonging was conditional, that love could be withdrawn the moment you stopped being useful or convenient or easy. The Mother's Day event came first, a week before the gala. Emily showed up at Chloe's school with craft supplies and anxiety, scanning the room full of actual mothers who belonged there in ways she wasn't sure she did. Chloe found her immediately, grabbing her hand and dragging her to their assigned table. "You're here! I told everyone you were coming." The teacher, a kind-faced woman in her 50s, approached with a warm smile. "You must be Emily. Chloe talks about you constantly. All good things, I hope. The best things. It's clear she adores you." The teacher's eyes were knowing. Family looks different for everyone. What matters is showing up. They made picture frames decorated with painted flowers and glitter, of course glitter, Chloe's favorite, while other mothers and daughters chatted around them. Emily helped Chloe write a message for the frame, "For the people who make our house a home." "Who's it for?" Emily asked. "You and Daddy. Duh." Chloe said it like it was obvious, like Emily had always been part of this equation. On the way out, a woman approached. Another mother, perfectly styled, the kind who probably had never worked a service job in her life. "You're the one dating Adrian Vale, aren't you?" Emily braced for judgment. "Yes. I just wanted to say, my daughter's in Chloe's class. She talks about how happy Chloe's been this year, how much she's opened up." The woman's smile was genuine. "Whatever you're doing, it's working. That little girl needed someone, and you showed up. That matters more than anything else." Emily felt tears prickling. "Thank you." Walking to the car afterward, Chloe swinging their joined hands, Emily felt something shift. Maybe she did belong here. Not because of money or status or fitting some perfect mold, but because she'd chosen to show up and keep showing up, even when it was scary. "Did you have fun?" Chloe asked. "I did. Did you?" "The best. All the other kids were jealous of my glitter skills. I told them you taught me everything." Chloe paused. "Emily, can I ask you something?" "Always." "Do you think you'll stay forever? Or will you leave someday like Mommy did?" Emily's heart stopped. They'd reached the car, but she knelt down instead of getting in, needing to be eye level for this conversation. "Your mommy didn't want to leave, sweetheart. She didn't have a choice." "I know, but you do have a choice, so will you choose to stay?" It was the fear Emily had been carrying for months, reflected back at her through a 7-year-old's anxious eyes. The fear that she was temporary, that this family wasn't really hers to claim, that loving them meant inevitable loss. But looking at Chloe's face, Emily realized the fear went both ways. This child had lost one parent already, and was terrified of losing another person she loved. "I'm choosing to stay," Emily said firmly. "Every single day I'm choosing you and your dad. That's not going to change. Promise?" "I promise. And I don't make promises I can't keep." Chloe hugged her so tight Emily could barely breathe. When they got home, the picture frame went immediately on Chloe's nightstand, right next to the photo of Rebecca that had always been there. Two things held at once: loss and love, past and present. It didn't have to be either or. The night of the gala arrived with the kind of spring rain that made Manhattan look like a movie set. Emily stared at herself in the mirror, barely recognizing the reflection. The dress was dark green, simple but elegant, a compromise between Adrian's assistant's suggestions and Emily's comfort level. Her hair was professionally done, makeup applied by someone who actually knew what they were doing. She looked like she belonged in Adrian's world. The question was whether she felt like it. "You look beautiful." Adrian appeared in the doorway, devastating in a tuxedo. "But you always do." "I look expensive. There's a difference." "You look like yourself, just dressed up."
He crossed to her, fixing a strand of hair the stylist had carefully placed. You ready? Absolutely not. Want to skip it? We can order Chinese food and watch Chloe's favorite movie for the 40th time instead. Emily smiled despite her nerves. And disappoint your assistant after all her hard work? She'd never forgive me. She'd get over it. You're more important than a gala. I know, which is why we're going. Emily took a breath. I can do this. I've survived worse than rich people judging my dress. The gala was at the Plaza Hotel, because of course it was. Emily had never been inside, and walking through those doors on Adrian's arm felt surreal. Cameras flashed immediately, actual paparazzi, not just event photographers. Adrian's hand tightened on hers. Just smile and keep walking. They'll get their shots and move on. Do I look okay? You look perfect and terrified, but mostly perfect. Inside was overwhelming. Chandeliers and champagne, designer gowns and tuxedos, conversations about stock options and real estate investments. Emily recognized faces from magazines and news programs, people who existed in a stratosphere she'd only observed from the outside. Adrian's assistant, Patricia, materialized immediately. She was younger than Emily expected, sharply dressed, efficient in a way that was almost intimidating. You clean up nice, she said, giving Emily an appraising look. The dress works. Thanks for not letting me wear Target. Oh, I would have let you, but Adrian's reputation can survive a lot. Your comfort in photos lasts forever. Patricia's smile was surprisingly warm. He talks about you constantly, by the way. It's annoying, but also kind of sweet. Before Emily could respond, people started approaching. Board members wanting Adrian's attention, investors making small talk, society types clearly curious about the woman on his arm. Adrian handled it smoothly, introducing Emily with pride that made her heart squeeze. This is Emily Carter, my partner. Not girlfriend, not date. Partner. Like they were building something together. Most people were polite, if curious. A few were openly assessing, clearly trying to figure out what a waitress brought to the table besides herself. Emily held her ground, making small talk about the charity, literacy programs for underprivileged kids, and avoiding conversations about her background when possible. Then Margaret appeared, David beside her, both dressed immaculately. Emily's stomach dropped. Adrian? Emily. Margaret's voice was neutral. They'd had coffee twice more since that first meeting, slowly rebuilding something that might eventually resemble trust. But this was different, public, observed, a test of how far they'd actually come. Margaret, David, Adrian's voice was carefully controlled. I'm glad you came. We donate every year, couldn't miss it. Margaret turned to Emily, and something in her expression softened. That dress is lovely, very elegant. Thank you. Emily wasn't sure what else to say. Chloe showed me the picture frame from the Mother's Day event. She's very proud of it. Margaret paused. And very proud of you. The words hit harder than expected. She's an amazing kid. She is. Rebecca would be... Margaret's voice caught. She would be grateful that Chloe has you. I'm trying to be grateful too. David put a hand on his wife's shoulder. What Margaret means is that we're learning to accept that loving our granddaughter means accepting the people who make her happy, even when it's difficult for us. It wasn't a perfect reconciliation. Margaret's eyes still held pain when she looked at Emily and Adrian together. But it was progress, and that mattered. After they moved on, Adrian pulled Emily close. That went better than expected. Your bar must be very low. You have no idea. The evening progressed. Dinner, speeches, an auction where people casually bid thousands of dollars on items Emily wouldn't have noticed in a store. She watched Adrian in his element, commanding rooms and conversations, and marveled that this was the same man who burnt eggs and got glitter stuck in his hair during craft projects. During dessert, a woman approached their table. Elegant, 50s, wearing diamonds that probably cost more than Emily's childhood. Adrian's expression went carefully neutral. Victoria, I didn't know you were attending. Last-minute decision. The woman's eyes landed on Emily with laser focus. And you must be the famous Emily. I've heard so much. Something in her tone raised Emily's hackles. Adrian's hand found hers under the table. Emily, this is Victoria Chen. She's on Vailcor's board. Charming. Victoria's smile didn't reach her eyes. I must say, Adrian, when you said you were bringing a date, I expected someone from our usual circles. This is quite the departure.
The insult was subtle but clear. Emily felt her face flush. Before she could respond, Adrian stood, his voice cold. Emily is not a departure. She's an upgrade from every vapid society climber I've dated before. His eyes were hard. And if you can't treat her with respect, you can leave my table. Victoria's smile went brittle. No need to be dramatic, Adrian. I was simply making an observation. Your observation is noted and dismissed. Now, if you'll excuse us. He guided Emily away from the table toward the terrace where they could breathe. The rain had stopped, leaving the city washed clean and glittering. I'm sorry about that. Victoria's always been a nightmare, Emily supplied. Yeah, I got that. Does she always go after your dates like that? I haven't brought anyone to these events since Rebecca. So this was new territory for both of us. Adrian scrubbed his hand over his face. I should have prepared you better for the Victoria Chens of the world. I can handle snobby board members. You shouldn't have to. Maybe not. But dating you means dealing with your world sometimes. I knew that coming in. Emily leaned against the railing, looking out at Central Park in the distance. Although I won't lie, part of me wanted to throw my drink in her face. That would have made an excellent photo. Your PR team would have loved that. They stood in comfortable silence for a moment. Then Adrian turned to face her, something intense in his expression. I need to tell you something. Emily's stomach dropped. That sounds ominous. It's not. At least I hope not. He took her hands. I love you, you know that. And I love who we are together, messy and complicated and nothing like what I thought my life would look like. But? No but, just and. He reached into his pocket, and I want to make it official. The ring box stopped Emily's heart. Literally stopped it. She couldn't breathe, couldn't think, couldn't process what was happening. Adrian, wait, let me say this before I lose my nerve. His hands were shaking slightly. When Rebecca died, I thought that was it. One great love, one chance at happiness. I was ready to spend the rest of my life going through motions, being present for Chloe, but not really living. Emily's eyes were burning with tears. Then you answered a text message I sent to the wrong person. You showed up at my door with a solar system kit and asked for nothing except to help. You made my daughter laugh again. You made me feel again. His voice cracked. You saved us, Emily. Both of us. I didn't. You did. Maybe not in some dramatic movie way, but in all the small moments that actually matter. Making breakfast, braiding Chloe's hair, being there at 3 a.m. when she has nightmares, calling me out when I'm using work to avoid feelings, loving us even when we're difficult. He opened the box. The ring was simple. A single diamond, elegant but not ostentatious. Exactly what Emily would have chosen if she'd ever let herself imagine this moment. I'm not asking you to replace Rebecca or be something you're not. I'm asking you to keep being exactly who you are, brave and stubborn and kind and real. Marry me, Emily Carter. Make this family official. Let me spend the rest of my life showing you that good things can last. Emily was full on crying now, makeup definitely ruined, not caring even a little bit. Through the tears, she saw Adrian's face, hopeful and terrified, and so full of love it hurt to look at. This is insane. We've known each other less than a year. I know. People will say I'm marrying you for money. I know. Your in-laws might actually murder me. Margaret's warming up. I'll take my chances. Emily laughed through her tears. I don't know how to be a CEO's wife. I can barely navigate fancy dinners without using the wrong fork. Then we'll hire an etiquette coach. Or not. I don't care about forks, Emily. I care about you. She looked at the ring, then at Adrian's face, then past him toward the ballroom where hundreds of people from his world were probably watching this moment unfold. A year ago, she'd been alone in a tiny apartment, convinced that belonging was something that happened to other people. Now she was standing on a terrace at the Plaza Hotel, being proposed to by a man she'd accidentally texted, becoming a mother to a daughter who wasn't biologically hers but felt like hers anyway, stepping into a life she never could have imagined. It was terrifying. It was impossible. It was everything she'd ever wanted and been too afraid to reach for. Yes. Adrian's face transformed. Yeah? Yes, I'll marry you. Emily was laughing and crying at the same time. This is completely crazy, but yes. He slipped the ring on her finger, then kissed her like they weren't standing in front of floor-to-ceiling windows where anyone could see. When they finally broke apart, Emily was pretty sure half the gala was watching, phones out, definitely recording. We're going to be all over social media by morning.
Good. Let them see. Let everyone see that I found something real. Adrian kissed her forehead. That we found each other. They went back inside hand in hand, and Emily felt the shift immediately. People noticing the ring, whispers spreading, cameras definitely pointed their way. Patricia appeared with champagne and a knowing smile. Called it. I told Adrian 3 months ago he was going to propose. He said I was being presumptuous.
You were being presumptuous, Adrian said, but he was grinning. And right. I'm always right. Patricia handed Emily a glass. Welcome to the family officially. Try not to let the board meetings bore you to death. The rest of the evening was a blur. Congratulations from people Emily barely knew, Margaret crying and hugging her with something that felt like genuine acceptance. Photographers definitely getting their money shots. Emily kept looking at the ring on her finger, still not quite believing it was real. On the drive home, Adrian pulled her close. Having regrets yet? Ask me after the wedding planning starts. I hear that's when relationships really get tested. We'll elope if you want. Just us and Chloe on a beach somewhere. Emily thought about that, small and private and simple. It was tempting, but looking at this man who just claimed her in front of everyone who mattered in his world, she realized she wanted the opposite. Actually, I want the wedding, the whole thing, because I spent my whole childhood being temporary, being the kid nobody fully claimed. I want to stand in front of everyone and choose you, publicly, permanently. Adrian's eyes were suspiciously bright. You're going to destroy me, you know that? Probably, but you proposed anyway. When they got home, Chloe was still awake despite the late hour, curled up on the couch with her babysitter watching movies. She took one look at Emily's face and knew. Did Daddy ask? Did he finally ask? Emily held up her hand, showing the ring. He asked. Chloe screamed and launched herself at both of them, wrapping her arms around their legs. You're going to be my real mom now. Can I call you Mom? Or is that weird? I don't know the rules. Emily knelt down, taking Chloe's face in her hands. You can call me whatever feels right. Emily, Mom, that weird lady who makes you eat vegetables. I don't care about the name. I care about being in your life forever. Forever, forever? Even when I'm a teenager and probably annoying? Especially then. I'm not going anywhere, Chloe. I promise. The little girl hugged her so tight Emily could barely breathe, and over her head, Emily met Adrian's eyes. He was crying now, too, not even trying to hide it. They put Chloe to bed together, both of them sitting on her bed while she fought sleep with questions about the wedding. Could she be Flower Girl? Could they have chocolate cake? Could Emily's dress have glitter? We'll figure all of it out together, Emily promised. But right now you need to sleep. But I'm too excited. Close your eyes and pretend. Sometimes that's how it starts. Chloe tried, but her eyes kept popping open. Finally, Emily started humming, a lullaby she remembered from the one foster mother who'd been genuinely kind before the system moved her again. The melody was simple, familiar, soothing. Adrian watched her sing his daughter to sleep with an expression Emily couldn't fully read. When Chloe's breathing finally evened out, they crept from the room together. In the hallway, Adrian pulled her close. Where did you learn that song? Foster care. The Hendersons. I was with them for 8 months when I was 10. Mrs. Henderson used to sing it. Emily's throat tightened. They were going to adopt me. Had the paperwork started and everything. Then Mr. Henderson got a job across the country and they couldn't take me with them. Said it was too complicated. Emily, yes. I'm not telling you for sympathy. I'm telling you because that's when I learned that families are temporary. That love has conditions. That belonging is something that can be taken away. She looked up at him. You're teaching me different, you and Chloe. That family can be chosen. That love can be unconditional. That I get to belong somewhere permanently. Adrian kissed her softly. You've always belonged here. From the moment you answered that text message. Maybe before that. Maybe we were always heading toward each other and just didn't know it yet. They made it to their bedroom. Their bedroom now, officially. Emily's last box from storage unpacked just last week. The room that used to feel too big felt exactly right with both of them in it. That night, wrapped in each other, Emily thought about the journey that brought her here. A misdirected text at 2 a.m. A grieving billionaire and his lonely daughter. A series of choices to show up, to stay, to risk her heart on something that seemed too good to be real. She'd spent so long waiting for disaster that she'd almost missed the miracle happening right in front of her. The wedding was 3 months later in early fall when the city was just starting to turn golden. They debated venue options. Adrian's first instinct was something massive and elegant. Emily's was courthouse simple, before landing on a compromise that felt right. The penthouse terrace, transformed with flowers and lights, intimate enough to feel personal, but beautiful enough to honor the moment. 50 people, family and close friends, Margaret and David in the front row, Maria as maid of honor wearing a dress she'd actually let Emily help pick out. And Chloe, of course, in a flower girl dress covered in subtle sparkles that caught the light when she moved. Emily stood in the bedroom getting ready, staring at herself in the mirror. The dress was ivory, simple but elegant, the kind of thing she never would have let herself imagine wearing. Maria was fixing her hair, both of them crying and trying not to ruin their makeup. "Stop it! You're going to make me mess up the veil."
I can't help it. You're getting married to a billionaire in a penthouse. Maria dabbed at her eyes. Remember when you thought your life was over after the apartment flooded? I remember thinking I'd lost everything. Turns out I just made room for something better. A knock at the door. Margaret entered, looking elegant in navy blue, carrying a small box. I wanted to give you something before the ceremony. She opened the box to reveal a delicate bracelet, pearls and diamonds, vintage and beautiful. This was Rebecca's. Her grandmother gave it to her on her wedding day. Emily's breath caught. Margaret, I can't.
"You can. You should." Margaret's eyes were wet, but her smile was genuine. Rebecca would want someone who loves her daughter to have it. Someone who shows up and stays and makes her family whole again. She fastened it around Emily's wrist herself, then pulled back to look at her. "You're not replacing my daughter, but you're honoring her memory by loving the people she left behind. That means everything." They hugged, both crying now, years of grief and resistance finally transforming into something like acceptance. The ceremony started at sunset, golden light flooding the terrace. Emily walked toward Adrian on her own. No father to give her away, no tradition that fit her unconventional path. Just her choice, her steps, her future waiting at the end of an aisle made of roses. Adrian looked devastating in his tux, eyes bright with tears he wasn't bothering to hide. Chloe stood beside him, holding a basket of petals, beaming like someone had given her the world. The officiant kept it simple. They'd written their own vows, both of them agreeing that traditional promises didn't quite fit what they were building. Adrian went first, his voice steady despite the emotion underneath. "Emily, I thought I knew what love looked like. I thought I'd had my chance and lost it, and the best I could hope for was going through the motions. Then you showed up and reminded me that life isn't about one chance. It's about staying open to possibility even when it scares you." He took her hands. "You loved me when I was broken. You loved my daughter like she was yours before any paperwork said so. You showed up in every way that matters. I promise to spend the rest of my life showing up for you the same way. To love you through the fear and the joy and all the messy, complicated, beautiful moments in between." Emily was crying before she even started speaking, not caring that mascara was probably running down her face. "Adrian, when you sent me that text message, I almost deleted it. Almost decided it wasn't my problem, that getting involved with a stranger's pain was a mistake." Her voice shook, but something made me answer. Maybe fate, maybe loneliness, maybe just human kindness. Whatever it was, it led me here. To you and Chloe, and a family I didn't think I was allowed to have. She looked at Chloe, then back at Adrian. "I promise to keep showing up, to love you on the hard days and the easy ones, to be a partner and a mother and a person who chooses this family every single day, to believe that good things can last if we're brave enough to hold on to them, to build a life with you that honors the past while creating something new." The officiant declared them married. Adrian kissed her like they weren't surrounded by 50 people, like she was oxygen and he'd been holding his breath for years. Chloe cheered louder than anyone. The reception was perfect chaos, dancing and toasts and cake that did in fact have glitter on it per Chloe's insistence. Emily danced with Adrian, with Chloe, with Maria, who kept crying and blaming allergies. Margaret gave a toast that acknowledged Rebecca's memory while welcoming Emily into the family officially. Patricia, slightly drunk on champagne, cornered Emily near the end of the night. "I'm glad he found you. Adrian was surviving before, but he wasn't living. You gave him that back." She raised her glass. "To brave choices and accidental text messages and love that shows up when you need it most." As the evening wound down, guests departing into the Manhattan night, Emily found herself on the balcony with Adrian and Chloe, looking out over the city that had become home. "We're really married," Emily said, still marveling. "Legally bound. No takebacks." Adrian wrapped his arm around her waist. "Good, because I'm not going anywhere." She looked down at Chloe, who was fighting sleep standing up. "You ready for bed, sweetheart?" "Not tired," Chloe mumbled, eyes already closing. Adrian scooped her up. "Sure you're not. Come on, let's get you to bed." They walked inside together, husband, wife, daughter, and Emily felt something settle deep in her chest. This was home. Not the penthouse or the city or the expensive surroundings. These people. This love they'd built from accidentally sent messages and chosen family and the willingness to risk their hearts on something improbable and real. After they tucked Chloe in, Adrian pulled Emily to their bedroom. The terrace had been cleared, flowers already being packed away, but the magic of the evening still hung in the air. "Happy?" he asked, pulling her close. "Terrified and happy. Is that allowed?" "I think that's the definition of love. Being scared, but doing it anyway." Emily thought about the journey that brought them here. Foster care and loss, grief and loneliness, a misdirected text at 2 a.m. that changed everything. How easily she could have ignored it, how close she'd come to running when things got complicated. But she'd stayed, and he'd fought for her. And together they'd built something that proved love didn't have to look perfect to be real. "I love you," she whispered, "even when it scares me, especially then." "I love you too, my accidental wife." Emily laughed. "That's going on our anniversary cards forever, you know." "I'm counting on it." They stood at the window, Manhattan glittering below them, and Emily realized that belonging wasn't something you were given or took away. It was something you built, piece by piece, choice by choice, day by day. It was showing up even when you were scared. It was loving imperfect people imperfectly. It was believing that good things could last if you were brave enough to hold on to them. She'd spent her whole life feeling temporary. Now, wrapped in Adrian's arms with their daughter sleeping down the hall and a future stretching out before them, Emily finally understood what permanent felt like. It felt like home. It felt like family. It felt like finding exactly where you were meant to be, even if you took the longest possible route to get there. And it all started with a text message sent to the wrong person at exactly the right time. Sometimes the best things in life happen by accident. Sometimes wrong numbers led to right people. Sometimes broken hearts learned to beat again. Sometimes families were built from scratch by people brave enough to risk loving when loss seemed more likely. Sometimes happily ever after looked nothing like the fairy tales promised. Messier and more complicated and infinitely more real. But it was theirs. Imperfect and beautiful and lasting. And that was everything.